Chapter 12:13. Tan Xiu had been in the immortal world for tens of thousands of years, and killing was a common occurrence there. It was a cruel and bloody world where people ate each other. This was the heavenly Tao's rule: big fish eat small fish, while small fish eat shrimps. If you don't kill, others will kill you. If you want to live, go further, and become stronger, you must tread on a mountain of corpses and tread on a sea of blood to advance. On an island, more than 1,000 people. For the former Tan Xiu, this was a cruel slaughter, and perhaps the number of innocent people involved would be no less than this. He respected life, but he didn't care about the lives of those who deserved to die. Being a pirate, it was like tying one's head to one's belt. While killing others, one must also be prepared to be killed by others. Looking at Karen's hesitant expression, Tan Xiu indifferently said, "I'm starting to suspect whether your sacred flame is a soft-hearted person or not. If you're always soft-hearted, then I'll have to hesitate about activating the 9 sacred flame orders. Because it's impossible to complete my plan with such an attitude." Karen's expression changed. She noticed that her companions around were glaring at her angrily. Her face immediately turned cold and she said in a deep voice, "Mr. Tang, our sacred flame is more or less the same as mercenaries. Since we've accepted the mission, we'll execute it perfectly. Let alone those who deserve to die, we won't be soft-hearted even if they're innocent and pitiful. Just now, I was soft-hearted and had a trace of benevolence in my heart. I assure you that this kind of benevolence will never exist again in the future. Our Sacred Flame's motto is that everything depends on money." "That's right." Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "You're pursuing money. Everything else is secondary. You must be pure for the sake of money. Kill anyone who stops you from making money. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. Money is everything in this world." A complicated look flashed in Karen's eyes as she nodded without saying a word. More than 200 members of Sacred Flame in the surroundings, on the other hand, wore fanatical looks and looked at Tan Xiu with incomparable reverence. Even the black man strode to Tan Xiu and excitedly said, "I really hope you can join us, Mr. Tang. Your ideology is exactly the same as the highest principle of our Sacred Flame. If you are willing to join us, I will personally speak to the Fire God and ask him to bestow upon you the position of a regional manager." The corners of Tan Xiu's mouth curled up as he asked with a faint smile, "Do you think I'm short of money?" The big black man's breathing stagnated and he immediately looked a bit embarrassed. However, he still braced himself and said, "I know you're very rich, Mr. Tang. You can even take out $10 billion for this mission. It can be said that you're the richest employer I've ever seen." However, no one would complain about having more money. Even if you had $100 billion, you would not be the richest person in the world. Don't you want to have more money, more wealth, enjoy the best service in the world, and live the most comfortable life? Money is supreme. Tan Xiu secretly sneered inwardly and disdainfully said, "Money may have a great effect in your eyes, but it's meaningless in my eyes. When you arrested Chen Zhizhong, you should have investigated his information, right? Do you think Chen Zhizhong is rich?" "He's a bit rich, but not too rich," said the big black man. "According to our investigation, the wealth of his endless virtue pharmaceutical is about $5 billion. This amount of money is not even enough to activate the 9 Dao Sacred Flame Order." "Chen Zhizhong is my apprentice, one of my in-name apprentices," said Tan Xiu without being salty nor light. "My wealth is at least 100 times more than his. Do you think I can spend it all in my lifetime?" Hiss! When the black man heard this, he suddenly gasped in shock. More than 200 members of the Sacred Flame in the surroundings looked at Tan Xiu as though they had seen a ghost, as though they had just heard the most unbelievable thing in the world. Trillions in wealth? Who else could have trillions in wealth aside from those terrifying super families? This Mr. Tang should be from China, but they had never heard of any super rich people in China. "Money is indeed a good thing," continued Tan Xiu. "But money is just like dung in my eyes. What I'm pursuing is power. You're very poor now, so you need to continue pursuing money. When you have money that you can't spend, you'll begin to pursue power and pursue the essence of life." Poor? More than 200 members of Sacred Flame all wore wry smiles on their faces. Which one of them didn't have tens of millions or even hundreds of millions in wealth? Although they were not super rich, they were still much stronger than many people, right? However, they recalled the terrifying wealth of this guy in front of them. More than 200 people groaned inwardly. Indeed, compared to him, we're really poor and destitute. Shortly after, several experts of the Tang sect and more than a dozen experts of the Sacred Flame stayed on the luxury liner, while the rest followed Tan Xiu to Sunny Island. Facing the dozens of aggressive pirates and watching them quickly pull the trigger, Tan Xiu didn't even need to give an order as the Sacred Flame's experts rushed forward like lightning. Blade lights flashed, sword shadows flew, and bullets splashed everywhere, not injuring anyone at all. The dozens of fierce-looking pirates had their heads chopped off and their bodies torn apart. In just a short moment, they were already dead. Kill them. Kill those pirates as fast as you can. Do remember to leave a few of them alive and force them to tell me the whereabouts of my disciple, Qin Zhizhong. Tan Xiu flew ashore and shouted in a deep voice. Bush, bush, bush. Figures flickered toward the island lightning fast. Along with the sound of gunfire, it didn't take long before Qinan returned and reported, Sect Master, the fifth island is called Yin Island. Qin Zhizhong is being held there. I heard that the pirate leader has driven away all the people on Yin Island in the past 7 days. It seems that he's performing a ritual. A cold light flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes and he shouted in a deep voice, notify everyone to return to the ship and then we'll head to the fifth island immediately. 5 minutes later, all the people who left returned. The passenger ship set sail again at its fastest speed and rushed toward the fifth island more than 100 nautical miles away. Tan Xiu understood that he must race against time to save Qin Zhizhong. Otherwise, he would be in more danger if he delayed for even a minute. After the fast sailing, Tan Xiu could already see the corridor of the Yin Island from the deck. However, at this time, 4 passenger ships quickly sailed from the direction of the Yin Island. Tan Xiu looked at the bow of the 4 passenger ships. There were strong men in black training suits and holding various weapons. Stop the passenger ships in front or we'll kill you. A loud broadcast came from the 4 passenger ships. With a disdainful look on his face, Tan Xiu shouted in a deep voice, everyone listen to my order. Don't pay attention to their words. Just rush over and kill them all. After saying that, he directly grabbed Qinan's shoulder and the 2 of them soared into the air and flew toward the Yin Island. When the 4 burly pirates with swords and sabers flew up to intercept them, Tan Xiu unleashed his divine sword and slashed at the 4 without hesitation. Sword shadows extended for hundreds of meters. The 4 burly men didn't have time to dodge and were smashed to pieces by the sword shadows. So strong. The Black Man and more than 200 experts of the Sacred Flame organization gasped when they saw Tan Xiu's violent strike. They couldn't understand why Tan Xiu would spend so much money to hire them given his terrifying strength. After a while, Tan Xiu and Qinan set foot on the 5th island, Yin Island. However, killing intent surged in the eyes of the 13 black-robed old men with long sabers in their hands. They sneered and said, the real experts have finally appeared. But you can't stop me with your strength. Qinan, I'll leave them to you. Kill them. Understood. A powerful aura erupted from Qinan's body. She unleashed her immortal sword and flashed toward the 13 black-robed old men like a lightning bolt. Her attack was extremely fast and powerful. At least, she was much stronger than the 13 black-robed old men. Therefore, Qinan's attack alone was enough to make the 13 of them have a drastic change in expression as they struggled to resist. Tan Xiu continuously released his spiritual sense and covered a radius of several kilometers. He then flew toward the center of the island. A few minutes later, he saw a strange altar within the range of his spiritual sense. On top of the altar was Qin Zhizhong, who had 13 sharp sabers stabbed into his body. In front of the altar was a bald man who knelt on his knees and kept chanting a strange incantation. Suddenly, the bald man's figure vanished into thin air. When he reappeared, he had transformed into a black dragon and instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. The ferocious appearance of the black dragon made Tan Xiu jump in fright. However, a disdainful look appeared on Tan Xiu's face after a while. He sneered and said, I'm not its match for a real black dragon whose strength is comparable to that of an immortal for the time being. But a black dragon transformed from a black dragon is nothing but an ant in my eyes. Die for me. The divine sword suddenly expanded. The violent sword shadow instantly slashed the black dragon's head. As the black dragon howled and dissipated, the black-robed bald man was sent flying backward. Blood sacrifice. Array refinement. The black-robed bald man spurted out a mouthful of blood. As he was sent flying backward, his hands constantly streaked in the air and the blood gradually condensed into dozens of blood-colored talisman seals. It's just an insignificant skill. It's hardly presentable. Tan Xiao could see the mystery of the black-robed bald man's secret technique at a glance. As the divine sword swept over, dozens of blood-colored talisman seals vanished into thin air. Almost in an instant, Tan Xiao appeared in front of the black-robed bald man. The distance between the two was less than 3 meters. A wizard at the spirit formation stage? Interesting. Today is the last day. I'm begging for monthly votes. Also, the return from the immortal world is about to end. Chapter 12:14. The black-robed man's expression didn't change at all from beginning to end. Even though the black dragon he conjured was destroyed and he was sent flying by Tan Xiao's sword strike, and even though Tan Xiao was already in front of him, his eyes were still as stagnant as a pool of stagnant water. You don't dare to kill me. The indifferent words came out the moment he retreated. Tan Xiao frowned. His sword, which was supposed to kill, slightly tilted in an instant. The sword beam slashed down from the black-robed man's right shoulder and cut off his right arm. Why wouldn't I dare? Asked Tan Xiao coldly as he stopped and looked at the black-robed man who retreated for tens of meters. The black-robed man frowned and quickly grabbed his severed right arm and pressed it back on the stump. Black smoke surged out of his right arm. Half a minute later, he gently moved his right arm. It was obvious that it had been reconnected. If my guess is correct, Chen Zhizhong is your disciple. I've cast an adhesion curse on him. If he lives, I live. If he dies, I die. If you kill me, it's tantamount to killing him. Tan Xiao, I don't think you'll kill your own disciple with your own hands, right? Asked the black-robed man lightly. Adhesion curse? Tan Xiao didn't know what this adhesion curse was, but he was shocked inwardly because he knew about the symbiosis curse. Once the symbiosis curse was cast on the caster and the one being cast, they would live and die together. If one of them died, the other would also die. What do you want to do? Asked Tan Xiao indifferently. The black-robed man let out a faint smile and said, Let me introduce myself. I'm Helios Luna. You as in the bright moon, Yang as in the sun. I'm the Grand Elder of the Celestial Wizard Clan. I didn't expect that your Celestial Wizard Clan would dare to come out and make trouble. Tan Xiao sneered. Haven't the assassin organizations all over the world brought disaster to your clan? Helios Luna shook his head and smilingly said, How can you imagine the heritage of my Celestial Wizard Clan? The reason why I came out this time is to grab your Achilles heel and make you take back the bounty. It's not that my clan is afraid of trouble, it's just that we're too lazy to deal with worldly affairs. Are you so sure that I care about Chen Zhizhong's life? Asked Tan Xiao. He's just my in-name disciple. I investigated your situation after I came out, said Helios Luna. Said Helios Luna. You's young, yet you understand morality and you have. Even though he had great power, he still protected Huaxia and the ordinary people of Huaxia. In fact, many of the things you've done in the past were for the sake of your friends. How could a young man like you not care about the life and death of his disciple? Tan Xiao let out a mocking smile and asked, Do you think you really know me? I know, me Xiao said. Wizard Yang. Yang Tian. Yang. I just said. I to you, that I have that be. I have Chen want to say. Have you? I'd love to hear it if you're willing to tell me about it. You're not qualified to know my story. Tan Xiao shook his head. Having said that, he ignored Helios Luna for the time being and flew to the altar. There, he looked at Chen Zhizhong, who had 13 sharp knives stabbed into his body. Traces of blood slowly slid down the blades and eventually fused into the engraved array pattern on the altar, where a faint red light flickered. Chen Zhizhong looked up with difficulty and could barely see Tan Xiu's face through his blurred vision. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. As his spiritual sense continued to penetrate the array pattern on the altar, the killing intent in his heart grew thicker. He turned his head to look at Helios Luna, who was smiling with his arms crossed. This array, it was a sacrificial array used by evil cultivators to refine living beings. Once all the blood of the sacrificed living being flowed into the array, the 3 souls and 7 spirits would be mercilessly extracted from the body and turned into a guardian spirit. Once the caster devoured the guardian spirit, they could obtain all the cultivation and memories of the living being, and their strength would skyrocket crazily. Such a method was extremely sinister. Tan Xiu didn't expect that someone from the Celestial Wizard clan would know such an evil spell. He could understand it if he was in the immortal world. After all, there were countless cultivators and all kinds of magical powers and secret arts were widely spread. But this was Earth, and someone who could study such an evil spell could be regarded as a peerless fiend who must have done cruel experiments on countless living beings. I'm going to teach you a secret art. Listen carefully and then go all out to cultivate it. Seize the time to master it, and you'll be able to make up for the loss of your life force. You can even obtain great benefits. Tang Xiu transmitted his voice to Chen Zhizhong's ear. He blinked his eyes and then transmitted the secret art to him. Tan Xiu turned around and looked at Helios Luna. To be honest, your previous investigation of me and analysis of my character are right. Let's talk about a deal. What do you want me to pay to release my apprentice? Helios Luna licked his lips and grinned. 3 conditions. If you can meet them, I'll release your apprentice and guarantee that my Celestial Wizard clan will never oppose you again. Tell me about it. Tan Xiu nodded. The first condition is that the Dark Shaman clan is a traitor to my Celestial Wizard clan, said Helios Luna. Their entire clan must be punished. You must remain silent when the Celestial Wizard clan sends a large number of experts to wipe them out. Singluan is my friend. I'm the one who helped him become the patriarch of the Dark Shaman clan. Tan Xiu sneered. No, I get it now. The sacred flame inviting the Celestial Wizard clan to capture Chen Zhizhong was probably one of your plans, wasn't it? If the Dark Shaman clan was involved, they would have become my enemy. You wanted to use me to get rid of the Dark Shaman clan. Helios Luna gave a thumbs up and praised. It seems that the information I gathered is correct, Tan Xiu. You're really smart, much smarter than I thought. I did want to use you to get rid of the traitors of the Dark Shaman clan. Unfortunately, they were afraid of the Sacred Flame organization and didn't agree. What a good plan, sneered Tan Xiu. I wonder if you're willing to agree to the first condition? Asked Helios Luna. Tan Xiu pondered for a few minutes and then replied with an ugly expression, I'll reluctantly agree to this condition. But if there are other conditions that make me feel awkward, I'd rather have my disciple die here and refine you into an artifact spirit so that you'll suffer endless pain for the rest of your life. Helios Luna's eyes lit up and he smilingly said, As for the second condition, I want 3 since you can refine magic weapons with artifact spirits. I can't refine magic weapons with artifact spirits for the time being. Tan Xiu shook his head. I need to extract a person's soul every time I refine one of them. I can't do it. Helios Luna slowly turned around and pointed to the seashore. He sneered and said, I won't force you since you've always been like this. But it won't be a problem if I extract someone's soul with my own hands, right? I have a lot of pirates here, as well as a lot of people from the Sacred Flame organization. Don't forget that those people from the Sacred Flame organization helped me capture your disciple. It shouldn't be a problem to kill them and use their souls, right? They're just machines whose purpose is to get money, said Tan Xiu lightly. So the main responsibility is not on them, but on you. If I have to kill someone, killing you is the best way to vent my anger. Then use my people, said Helios Luna in a deep voice. I'll help you refine 3 magic weapons with artifact spirits as long as you give me their souls, said Tan Xiu. But you must provide the materials needed to refine them. No problem. Helios Luna didn't even ask what materials Tan Xiu needed and readily agreed. What's the third condition, then? Asked Tan Xiu. A cultivation art that can help you become an immortal. Helios Luna smilingly said, I know. I know that the cultivation sects in Huaxia attach great importance to their heritage, but I must get it. In fact, I can also get the cultivation art even if you don't trade with me. It's just that the method will be a bit cruel and bloody. Tan Xiu's expression turned very unsightly. After hesitating for a while, he said, I need to discuss it with the elders of my sect. It's naturally not a problem if they agree to it. But if they don't, I can only sacrifice my disciple and then avenge him. Go ahead. Helios Luna spread his hands and said with a faint smile, I need to warn you in advance that you don't have much time left. Chen Zhizhong will be refined to death if you don't tell me the result within 2 days. It'll be too late even if you regret it at that time. 2 days? Tan Xiu secretly sneered inwardly. Chen Zhizhong's talent might be average, but the secret art he imparted to him would only take him half a day at most to cultivate it. By then, this bastard in front of him wouldn't be able to be arrogant anymore. In the distance, the Sacred Flame and Tang sect disciples were going all out to slaughter the islands. There were a lot of people on these islands and many of them were also witchcraft cultivators. However, their strength was generally not high, so it was very easy for both sides to slaughter them. Tan Xiu could see that Helios Luna didn't care about the lives of these pirates. Perhaps the 3 conditions he promised him were the most important in his eyes. A figure flickered and quickly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. It was Qi Nan, who was covered in blood and looked a bit pale. She respectfully reported, The enemy has been eliminated, boss. Tan Xiu nodded and said, You stay here and watch Chen Zhizhong. I'm going to make a call. Understood. Qi Nan nodded and took the holy healing medicine from Tan Xiu. After taking it, she stared at Helios Luna as though she was facing a formidable enemy. Tan Xiu was a few kilometers away when he directly grabbed his mobile and dialed Singluan's number, saying, Helios Luna, the Celestial Wizard Clan's Supreme Elder, intends to slaughter your Dark Shaman clan. He also negotiated with me to stop helping you. Let's continue to erupt today. I'm begging you to support me in the last few hours. Chapter 12-15. T Country's Dark Shaman Clan. Singluan, who was sitting cross-legged on a futon and holding a mobile phone, heard Tan Xiu's words. A thick killing intent suddenly burst out from his eyes. Boss, Singluan may be the patriarch of the Dark Shaman Clan, but I've chosen to follow you. I'll agree to your decision unconditionally. Tan Xiu was very satisfied with Singluan's attitude and slowly said, I'm sure you're well aware of the enmity between the Celestial Wizard Clan and the Tang sect. I won't give up until I annihilate the Celestial Wizard Clan. Therefore, your clan has had enough time to recuperate. It's time for you to come out. Boss, all the core members of the Dark Shaman Clan are coming out in full force, said Singluan seriously. We'll fight wherever you point us to. You can rest assured that the Dark Shaman Clan is no longer what it used to be after a long period of development. Even my father won't go against my decision. There's no need for the Dark Shaman Clan to come out in full force. Just bring all the powerhouses of the Celestial Wizard Clan here, said Tan Xiu. Go to Saipan and wait for my order there. Understood. Singluan replied and then hung up the phone. In the next moment, his figure appeared on the roof. 5 figures flickered lightning fast from a distance and quickly appeared in front of Singluan. Patriarch, the 5 energetic old men saluted and greeted him. Summon all the elders of the clan and summon them here for a meeting, said Singluan in a deep voice. Our Dark Shaman clan is about to face a matter of life and death. No matter what they are doing now, they must let it go. Understood. The 5 old men exchanged dismayed glances. They didn't understand what Singluan meant when he said that it was a matter of life and death for the clan. But since they were loyal to Singluan, they complied without hesitation and quickly flew to the distance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A few minutes later, figures flickered lightning fast and arrived in the spacious courtyard. All of them were the elders of the Dark Shaman clan and were very powerful. They had obtained cultivation techniques from Tan Xiu through Singluan. Coupled with the cultivation resources they exchanged from Tan Xiu with a lot of demon stones, they were much stronger than they were a year ago. Some of them even had their strength increased tenfold. Half an hour. Apart from Xingluan's father, the other members of the Dark Shaman clan appeared in front of Xingluan. There were a total of 14 elders of the Dark Shaman clan, all of whom were comparable to Gold Core stage experts. Patriarch, we received news that it's a matter of life and death for our Dark Shaman clan. What is it? The Star Barbarian was the only female elder of the Dark Shaman clan. Her silver hair fluttered in the wind, and she wore a red robe. She didn't look like an old woman, but more like a woman in her 30s or 40s. What about my father? Asked Xingluan with narrowed eyes. The elders looked at each other with hesitation on their faces. Finally, it was Starman who spoke. Patriarch, he left our Dark Shaman clan after you went into seclusion. He hasn't returned yet. He's still in the prime of his life, yet he was kicked out of the Patriarch's seat. It's only natural for him to be dissatisfied. If my guess is correct, he's still thinking about my big brother and feels that staying in our Dark Shaman clan will only make him feel aggrieved. Fine, since he chose to leave, then let him be. From now on, he is no longer the supreme elder of our Dark Shaman clan. The 14 elders were secretly alarmed by this sudden turn of events. However, after recalling the earth-shaking changes that happened to the clan after Xingluan became the patriarch of the clan, they finally accepted the order. Can you tell us now, Patriarch? Asked Starman, what exactly happened? The Celestial Wizard clan is ready to take action against our Dark Shaman clan, said Xingluan. I just got the news from Tan Xiu that the Celestial Wizard clan's supreme elder, Helios Luna, is negotiating with him, hoping that the cultivators of the Tang sect will no longer help our clan. In a flash, the complexions of the 14 elders of the Dark Shaman clan greatly changed, and they looked angry. Several hot-tempered elders even cursed, "Damn that Celestial Wizard clan! Damn that Celestial Wizard clan!" Back then, our ancestors were persecuted by them and only a few survived. After so many years, our Dark Shaman clan was barely able to recover some of our strength. I never thought that these bastards would never let us off. Why are we afraid of them? Our Dark Shaman clan is no longer a weakling that can be pinched by anyone. Since the Celestial Wizard clan wants to fight with us, we'll let them have their way. I've just researched several powerful secret arts, and I'll use their blood to verify them. The Celestial Wizard clan was indeed stronger than our Dark Shaman clan in the past, but the strength of our entire clan has improved by leaps and bounds. Since they want to bear their fangs, then we'll cut off their fangs and their dog legs. Let's fight them, Patriarch. It's for the survival of our Dark Shaman clan and to avenge our ancestors. Kill! Xingluan looked at the 14 elders' expressions and sneered. Do you really think our clan can contend with the Celestial Wizard clan with our current strength? Even if we can't contend with them, we must make them pay a painful price, shouted an elder in a deep voice. I understand the anger in your heart, elders, said Xingluan indifferently. I'm actually angrier than you are, but anger won't solve the problem. However, anger can't solve the problem. The reason why I gathered all of you here is to discuss with you how to deal the most painful blow to the enemies of Celestial Wizard clan while suffering the least amount of damage. For a moment, the 14 elders of the Dark Shaman clan all fell into silence. Their hearts were filled with anger just now, and their clamor was also to vent their anger. In the final analysis, they were well aware of one thing. Even if their Dark Shaman clan's overall power had advanced by leaps and bounds and was much stronger than before, they were still not a match for the Celestial Wizard clan. Xingman thought for a while and said, You called us here, Patriarch. I believe you've made a decision. You're the one who brought our clan to become stronger, so we hope you can lead us to inflict heavy damage to the Celestial Wizard clan and even destroy it. That's right. We'll listen to you. You're the great hero of our clan, Patriarch. Please give us the order. We're loyal to you, so we'll do whatever you want us to do. Xingluan nodded with satisfaction and said, If that's the case, then we'll summon all the clan's experts to sneak into Saipan and then lay low. As a matter of fact, you all should know that the Tang sect and the Celestial Wizard clan have a deep enmity, so Sect Master Tan Shio has decided to wage a war against the Celestial Wizard clan. The Dark Shaman clan and the Tang Sect's powerhouses can definitely kill those Celestial Wizard clan bastards. Let's cooperate. The 14 elders looked excited. They all knew Tan Shio and the Tang Sect. Since Tan Shio wanted to attack the Celestial Wizard clan, it naturally wouldn't be a problem. On one hand, it could not only solve the threat posed by the Celestial Wizard clan, but on the other hand, it could also inflict heavy damage to the Celestial Wizard clan and avenge the clan's ancestors. It was definitely killing two birds with one stone. Sunny Island. After the phone call with Singluan, Tan Shio returned to Helios Luna and lightly said, "I've conveyed your conditions to the elders of my sect. As for their decision, I don't know for the time being. I'm afraid they're already discussing it." Helios Luna looked relaxed and lightly smiled. "It's fine. I'm not in a hurry." Tan Shio snorted coldly and no longer paid attention to Helios Luna. He directly came to the altar and sat cross-legged, quietly waiting for Chen Zhizhong to completely master the secret technique. More than 200 members of Sacred Flame clashed with the pirates and eventually lost more than a dozen people. On the other hand, none of the Tang Sect's disciples died. Only one of them was injured, and it was only a flesh wound. Helios Luna slightly furrowed his brows. A murderous glint flashed in his eyes when he saw the Sacred Flame's people. He then looked at Tan Shio and sneered. "What a good move, Tan Shio. There's a saying in your Huaxia country that goes like this: give them a taste of their own medicine. I didn't expect you to use this saying so skillfully and use these money grubbers of Sacred Flame to deal with me." "Shut the fuck up, asshole," the black man roared angrily. Helios Luna looked at the indifferent Tan Shio and instantly dashed toward the black man. His speed was extremely fast and he dashed to the front of the black man in the blink of an eye. A miniature black dragon then appeared and fiercely bombarded the black man's chest. Boom! The black man's chest caved in and blood spurted out crazily. His body was like a kite with a broken string and was sent flying backward. One strike. The black man was directly killed. More than 200 members of Sacred Flame were shocked. Never in their wildest dreams had they imagined that the strongest expert among them would be killed by Helios Luna in a single move. "Kill him!" With a roar, dozens of experts closest to Helios Luna rushed over. They firmly believed that Helios Luna was no match for so many of them, no matter how powerful he was. After all, even ants could bite an elephant to death. Just a bunch of ants. A disdainful look flashed in Helios Luna's eyes. A black dagger appeared in his hand out of thin air. He chanted a series of strange incantations and the black dagger instantly swept toward the crowd. The 1-foot-long dagger unleashed a 100-meter-long blade light. Dozens of Sacred Flame's experts who rushed over were all slashed at the waist. Blood rained down and the two halves of their corpses scattered on the ground. Tan Shio, who was sitting cross-legged on the altar, instantly opened his eyes and shouted fiercely, "Stop! Don't blame me for being ruthless if anyone dares to attack again." Chapter 12:16. Helios Luna turned to look at the grim-faced Tan Shio. Killing intent surged inside him, but he knew very well that he was not Tan Shio's match. Otherwise, he wouldn't have minded killing him. "Tan Shio, if they dare to provoke us again, I'll kill them all even if you come forward to stop them." Tan Shio nodded indifferently. He then shifted to the remaining 100 members of Sacred Flame and lightly said, "You're too weak. You're nothing but ants in his eyes. Even if you gang up on him, you'll still be slaughtered eventually. If you want to take revenge, wait until you become stronger in the future or contact the powerhouses of Sacred Flame. But you're not allowed to do anything now." The remaining 100 members of Sacred Flame were full of grievances. They also realized that what Tan Shio said was right. Killing Helios Luna was simply a pipe dream given their strength. Many of them even felt grateful to Tan Shio. If it weren't for Tan Shio stopping them, they would have been killed soon. For a moment, everyone fell silent, but most of their eyes were lingering on Tan Shio and Helios Luna. Early in the morning, when the first ray of sunlight broke free from the shackles of the sea and sprinkled its light on the earth, Chen Jizhong on the altar suddenly opened his eyes. A scarlet light flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, the array pattern on the altar shone with a monstrous blood light. Streams of blood flowed along the lines of the array formation and flowed into Chen Jizhong's body. The 13 daggers were all ejected from his body. Buzz, sitting cross-legged on a blue stone, Helios Luna's expression drastically changed all of a sudden. Disbelief filled his eyes as he looked at Chen Jizhong on the altar in horror. At the same time, he found that his body seemed to be shrouded by a 5-star force that pulled him toward the altar nearly in an instant. What's going on? Helios Luna was nearly bewildered. He never dreamed that such a strange situation would happen. In fact, the power that enveloped his body was simply terrifying to the extreme. Even though he was struggling with all his might, he was still unable to break free. He watched helplessly as he was pulled onto the altar. He opened his mouth to speak, but found that he had completely lost control of his body. Other than his eyeballs that could move a few times in their sockets, he could not use any strength in any other part of his body. Tan Xiao, who was standing next to the altar, was overjoyed when he saw Helios Luna's situation. With a Mitsubishi Army knife in his hand, his figure shot out like a cannonball and appeared in front of Helios Luna in an instant. As the cold light continued to slash across Helios Luna's body, bloody wounds were left on his body. Fresh blood. The blood splashed from Helios Luna's body, and when it splashed onto the runes on the altar, it continuously flowed towards Chen Jizhong. In just a few minutes, all the blood on Helios Luna's body had flowed out. If it wasn't for his overwhelming strength, he would have been dead by now. Yin and Yang reversal, life and death soul seal. Chen Jizhong floated up. 2 streams of blood rose from the altar, quickly drilled into the soles of his feet, and then poured into his body. As a 7-colored light bead floated out of Helios Luna's body, Chen Jizhong quickly absorbed the 7-colored light bead into his body according to the secret method taught to him by Tan Xiao. Roar? A roar similar to that of a wild beast came from Chen Jizhong's mouth. His face, which was as pale as a sheet of paper, instantly turned red. Beads of sweat the size of beans slid down his cheeks. Almost instantly he fainted. The 2 blood pillars didn't stop because Chen Jizhong was unconscious. The blood of the dozens of sacred flame experts who were killed by Helios Luna on the ground was quickly sucked toward the altar, quickly converging into the 2 blood pillars, and then drilled into Chen Jizhong's body. Time fleeted by. In just half an hour, all the blood within a kilometer radius had been absorbed by Chen Jizhong. At this moment, Chen Jizhong cut his wrist and sprayed his blood on the altar. He suddenly turned his head to look at the sacred flame members and shouted in a deep voice, "Spray some of your blood on the altar. Spray it all on the altar. I'll give you $1 million each as compensation. Hurry!" More than 100 members of Sacred Flame exchanged dismayed glances. After a brief discussion, they rushed to the altar one after another and copied Tang Xiu's action. They quickly tore the blood vessels on their wrists and splashed their blood on the altar. The Tang sect disciples also tore their wrists one after another. Immediately, 2 streams of blood shrouded Chen Jizhong's feet and slowly climbed to his ankles, legs, waist, abdomen, and head. Half a minute later, Chen Jizhong's blood had already shrouded him, making him look like a bloody man from the outside. A ruthless glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes and he shouted in a deep voice, "Bring the corpses of all the people you killed before here. I'll compensate you with $10 million. Hurry! Hurry! That's a lot of money." A group of lightning-fast silhouettes rushed to the seaside. In just 5 or 6 minutes, 100 or 200 members of the Sacred Flame returned with corpses. Each of them had at least 2 corpses in their hands. Some of them even had 3 or 4 corpses in their hands as they rushed back at high speed. "Spill their blood on the altar," Tan Xiu shouted as he watched them dissect the corpses one after another. As a large amount of blood splashed, the bloody light on Chen Jizhong's body became more intense and his aura became more powerful. Mind-cleansing incantation. Tan Xiu's hands kept clapping and slapping seals into Chen Jizhong's body. Soon after, Chen Jizhong slowly woke up from his coma. He was shocked when he saw the scene in front of him, but he quickly focused his attention on himself. This, Qin Zhizhong was frightened. He could feel the raging blood and qi in his body. The huge amount of blood and qi had already begun to transform into energy, crazily pouring into his meridians and then into his dantian. Golden core stage. Nascent soul stage. Spirit formation stage. In the end, Qin Zhizhong directly broke through to the body integration stage after absorbing all the blood and qi. Furthermore, he was at the late stage of body integration. Those rainbow-colored light spheres. Qin Zhizhong's divine sense finally detected the existence of those rainbow-colored light spheres. When he quickly transmitted his divine sense to them, his body instantly trembled violently. Immediately after, memories crazily drilled into his sea of consciousness like a tidal wave. Qin Zhizhong screamed again and fainted. Standing next to the altar, Tan Xiu looked at the fainted Qin Zhizhong with a smile in his eyes. Qin Zhizhong's previous coma could only mean that his willpower was not strong enough. But this coma could bring him great benefits. Memories. One person's memory might be able to bear it, but what Qin Zhizhong was receiving at this moment was far more than one person's memory. The memories of Helios Luna, dozens of Sacred Flames members, hundreds of pirates, and even those experts Qin and killed before were all obtained by Qin Zhizhong. Boom, Helios Luna's body turned into a wisp of smoke and scattered with the sea breeze. The corpses also turned into ashes, their souls dissipating forever. Tan Xiu then shifted to the Sacred Flames members and said in a deep voice, "I want to know when Vulcan of your Sacred Flame will appear in front of me." Karen came to Tan Xiu and respectfully said, "We've contacted Vulcan before, Mr. Tang. He said that he can arrive in Saipan in 3 days at most. By then, a large number of Sacred Flames powerhouses will be following him." "If so, you can leave first," said Tan Xiu. "There are many passenger ships on this island, so you can pick one. Do remember to release those hundreds of ordinary tourists. I don't want you to bully them on the way back. I'll hunt you down for the rest of your lives if I find out about it." "Understood." These people nodded. Tan Xiu had saved their lives before, so no one would go against Tan Xiu's will at this time. With the departure of the Sacred Flames members, there were only about 20 Tang sect disciples left on the island. They monitored the surroundings of the altar and waited quietly. Tan Xiu was also waiting for Qin Zhizhong to wake up. He wanted to know how much benefit Qin Zhizhong could get from this secret art that he had never tried before. For 7 days, Qin Zhizhong had been in a coma, but countless memories were entangled in his sea of consciousness. Some of them were directly expelled by his consciousness, while others were quickly absorbed. Finally, the moment Qin Zhizhong woke up, he opened his eyes and instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. To be precise, he knelt in front of Tan Xiu and respectfully called out, "I'm fine now, master." Tan Xiu could sense the faint aura in Qin Zhizhong's body and nodded with satisfaction. "Very good. You actually took this opportunity to break through to the body integration stage in one fell swoop. I can tell that there are only a handful of people in the entire Tang sect who are more powerful than you. How's the recovery of your memories?" "I've fully recovered my memories, master," said Qin Zhizhong. "My strength has also made a breakthrough. Also, I've recalled all the inheritances I got and the memories of those people are all under my control. I now know a lot of secrets." Tan Xiu happily said. "Henceforth, you're Tan Xiu's personal disciple." Qin Zhizhong stared blankly for a moment and then looked ecstatic. He heavily kowtowed 3 times to Tan Xiu, cut his wrist, and handed it to Tan Xiu. He respectfully said, "There's no tea here, master. This disciple will use my blood to replace the tea." Tan Xiu opened his mouth and sucked the blood. Then he nodded and smilingly said, "That's very kind of you. Now, answer a few questions for me. What's Helios Luna's status in the Celestial Wizard clan? Is he the Grand Elder of the Celestial Wizard clan he mentioned? Today's 3rd chapter is a new month. I'm asking for a guaranteed monthly vote. This is the ending of this month, so this will be the last time I'm asking for monthly votes after returning from the immortal world. Please support me, brothers and sisters." Chapter 12:17. Helios Luna is indeed the Grand Elder of the Celestial Wizard Clan, Master, said Chen Zhizhong respectfully after recalling for a while. From his memory, his strength is enough to rank among the top 3 in the clan. Further, he built the 9 islands in the Nonagon Bulwark a long time ago and just used them recently. Tan Xiu had a higher opinion of the Celestial Wizard Clan. After all, Helios Luna's cultivation was comparable to a spirit formation stage expert. If it wasn't for the powerful immortal art he imparted to Chen Zhizhong, it was likely that he would be the only one who could kill Helios Luna. Not many of the Tang sect's disciples had reached the spirit formation stage, and only a handful of them could kill him. You've absorbed a lot of people's memories. If I ask you to take charge of the overall situation and lure the Celestial Wizard Clan's people out and then kill them all, can you do it? Asked Tan Xiu. I don't know much about the overall strength of our Tang sect, Master, said Chen Zhizhong with a forced smile. I can only plot against the Celestial Wizard Clan at most, but I can't achieve the result you're expecting. Tan Xiu nodded and quietly thought for a few minutes. Then he asked again, what did the Celestial Wizard Clan do to investigate me? Did they do anything against the people around me? Mu Weining, Kong Xia, and Tang Yunpeng. Chen Zhizhong nodded without a word. Celestial Wizard Clan's people are lurking around them. As for the rest, there's nothing else. Return to China immediately and eliminate the Celestial Wizard Clan's people around them, ordered Tan Xiu immediately. Also, remember to return in time. I'm going to lure the Celestial Wizard Clan's people out. I've prepared the bait. Chen Zhizhong stared blankly and hurriedly asked, what bait did you prepare, Master? The Celestial Wizard Clan wants to get rid of the Dark Shaman Clan, so I ordered all the experts of the clan to rush to Saipan. Tan Xiu sneered. I'll go to Saipan to meet them later and then look for an island in the Pacific Ocean as the venue for the decisive battle. Chen Zhizhong's eyes lit up and he said, according to Helios Luna's memory, the Celestial Wizard Clan is indeed preparing to attack the Dark Shaman Clan. Recently, assassins from various organizations around the world have suspended their pursuit of the Celestial Wizard Clan. The $100 million you've taken out has also been collected. However, the Celestial Wizard Clan didn't suffer a big loss. Their heritage is very deep, especially the 12 Supreme Elders of Celestial Wizard Clan, all of whom have strength comparable to nascent soul stage. Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and sneered. The Tang sect today is not the same as before. If the Celestial Wizard Clan dares to turn out in full force, then let them stay in the vast sea forever. Chen Zhizhong said with a smile, Master, this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I think this Nonagon Bulwark is a good choice. If we use Helios Luna's means to send a message to the Celestial Wizard Clan, I'm sure they'll believe that the Dark Shaman Clan has been lured here. It'll be easy to annihilate them here. What trick? Tan Xiu's expression changed as he hurriedly asked. The Wizard's Seal, answered Chen Zhizhong. Tan Xiu was silent for a while and then slowly said, I'll send someone to send you back to China right away. You're to eliminate the Celestial Wizard Clan's experts lurking around Kong Xia, Mu Weining, and my uncle as fast as possible. Also, I'll notify the Tang sect's disciples in the Pocket World to send all their experts who have broken through to the nascent soul stage to meet you in Demonic City. You're to return immediately after you've dealt with the matter in Demonic City. Then I'll set off now. Chen Zhizhong nodded. After a long while, Tan Xiu watched Chen Zhizhong's liner leave. Immediately after, he led the remaining dozens of Tang sect's disciples to clean up the remaining islands in the Nonagon Bulwark. As for the other islands, 99% of them were ordinary people. Therefore, it took them 4 days to clean up all the islands on the other 9 islands. My hands are already stained with the smell of blood. After returning to the 5th sunny island, Tan Xiu stood on the beach and slowly raised his hands. I think the smell of blood is very wonderful, Sect Master, said Qinan, because it makes me feel like I'm saving countless pitiful ordinary people. Tan Xiu turned to look at Qinan and suddenly grinned. I didn't expect you to be so similar. You're right. Your cultivation has been progressing rapidly recently and your state of mind has also improved a lot. If you cultivate well in the future, Maybe the immortal world will no longer be tranquil because of your arrival. What kind of existence is the immortal world, sect master? Asked Chi Nan with a longing expression. The immortal world is as beautiful as a fairyland on the surface, said Tan Xiu indifferently. There are also countless aborigines in the immortal world. They have a lot in common with the ancient humans on Earth. Ordinary people live a peaceful life. What about the real one? Asked Chi Nan. Tan Xiu's expression turned serious and he said in a deep voice, the real immortal world is cruel beyond your imagination. If you want to become a powerhouse in the immortal world, you must constantly fight against the heavens, people, demons, ghosts, and ghosts. It's a place of mutual deception and treachery. Only the strong can survive there, while the weak are either enslaved or killed. It's a place that eats people without spitting out their bones. If you don't have a backer and strength, then you must be ready to die at any time. Chi Nan's breathing turned heavy. Although Tan Xiu spoke very little, she could still feel that the immortal world was simply a hellish existence. Tan Xiu secretly shook his head. He didn't want to recall the immortal world anymore and slowly asked, That's right. I haven't asked you yet. Hao Lei called you to help her in Demonic City, so why did you come back to Jingmen Island? Are you not busy in Demonic City anymore? Chi Nan let out a dry smile and said, Our auction house has become famous all over the world since that auction, sect master. Countless guests from all over the world have entrusted our auction house to auction their items. Since there were too many trivial matters, I felt bored after being busy for a while, so I coaxed and pestered Hao Lei. Eventually, I asked for a vacation from her and then returned to Nine Dragons Island to cultivate in seclusion for some time. I didn't expect that I would encounter such a thing. Come to think of it, my luck is really good. Do you like killing? Asked Tan Xiu with a smile. No, I don't. Chi Nan shook her head and said, But I like to sharpen myself on the edge of life and death. You once said that only by sharpening oneself on the edge of life and death can one become stronger and stronger. There are very few battles on Earth. This is a peaceful society, so it's really not easy to encounter a battle. Of course, being by your side is an exception, so I really hope that I can always be with you. Tang Xiu could only force a wry smile inwardly. He had heard from many people that they wanted to follow him, such as Mao Ao, Tang An, and even Qin Shaohuan not long ago. All of them had said the same thing to him. Could it be that she can really keep participating in battles by following me? Sharpening herself on the edge of life and death? Tan Xiu suddenly recalled Qin Shaohua and said, Contact Qin Shaohua and ask him where he is now. If he's in Nine Dragons Island, tell him to immediately bring all the nascent soul stage experts of the Tang sect here. I think there should be dozens of people in the Tang sect who have broken through to the nascent soul stage after experiencing the cultivation in the pocket world. Understood, I'll contact him right away. Chi Nan agreed and quickly walked away. 2 days later, all the experts of the Dark Shaman clan had rushed to Sunny Island. Those who rushed to China had also dealt with Tang Xia, Mu Weining, and the Celestial Wizard clan's experts lurking around Tang Yunpeng. They also brought more than 20 experts of the Tang sect who had broken through to the nascent soul stage. Early in the morning, when the sun shone on the surface of the sea, 4 liners appeared near Sunny Island. As the liners docked, the graceful Karen followed a black-robed and black-masked old man and jumped off one of the liners and came to Tan Xiu. Mr. Tang, this is the leader of our Sacred Flame organization, Vulcan. There was a bit of awe in Karen's eyes when she looked at Tan Xiu. After all, even a terrifying expert like Helios Luna eventually died in Tan Xiu's scheme, so she felt a deep sense of dread facing Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu observed the black-robed Vulcan in front of him and calmly said, I'm very glad to meet the supreme leader of the Sacred Flame organization. Mr. Vulcan, I'll get straight to the point since you've accepted my commission. Our Sacred Flame organization has a good reputation. We'll accept any task as long as there's money, said Vulcan with a hoarse voice. Please tell me, Mr. Tang, what do you need us to do after activating the 9 Sacred Flame Order? I need to get rid of the Celestial Wizard clan, said Tan Xiu. I believe your Sacred Flame organization is well aware of the enmity between me and the Celestial Wizard clan. Mr. Tang, even if all the members of our Sacred Flame organization are dispatched, it will be very difficult for us to exterminate all the Celestial Wizard clan, said Vulcan bluntly. Likewise, our Sacred Flame organization will also suffer huge losses when we deal a heavy blow to the Celestial Wizard clan. I don't think you understand what I mean, said Tan Xiu calmly. Since I have enmity with the Celestial Wizard clan, I naturally won't let your Sacred Flame organization take action. The Dark Wizard clan is my ally, and I also have a group of experts under me. When the time comes, the three of us will cooperate to lure the Celestial Wizard clan's experts here, and then we'll join forces to get rid of them. No problem. Vulcan pondered for a moment and then nodded. The experts of your Sacred Flame organization should be more than the ones on those 4 ships, right? Asked Tang Xiu. May I ask when the rest of you will arrive? They will appear in the Nonagon Bulwark within 3 days, said Vulcan. As for how to settle them down, I think Mr. Tang has a specific combat plan. A new month has arrived. I'm looking for the monthly votes to support us. Let's continue to erupt today. Chapter 12:18. The turbulent sea was accompanied by a torrential downpour, and dark clouds blotted out the sky. Only the lightning streaking across the sky could bring a bit of light to the boundless sea. A liner braved the wind and waves, contending against the natural might of the heavens. Kacha, the bolt of lightning broke free from the shackles of the thick dark clouds, as though it was tearing a hole in the sky and crazily struck down. In just a few seconds of bright light, on the bow deck of one of the liners, an old man shrouded in a black robe and holding a golden staff in his hand slowly looked up to the sky. In the lightning, his eyes had already become pitch black, like 2 bottomless black holes. Along with the pitch-black smoke, he floated out of his body. In the short moment that the lightning disappeared, he had already been enveloped in a pitch-black fog. Bam, bam, bam. The sound of leather boots stepping on the deck came from behind the black mist. The 2-meter-tall giant waved his thick arms. In his right hand, which was as big as a cattail leaf fan, the giant axe was swung with great vigor. After observing the black mist, he said in a low, muffled voice, "Wizard Ancestor, Elder Black Crow asked me to report to you that we'll arrive at the island where the traitor is hiding in 2 hours. It's also the Nonagon Bulwark that Grand Elder Solar Luna secretly controls." After a long time, the black mist gradually dissipated and the black-robed old man's figure reappeared. A solemn expression appeared on his wrinkled face as he murmured, "World annihilation thunder, heaven-shaking lightning, sealing the heavens and splitting the waves. It's a sign of the end of the world, yet I can't see through the future cause and effect. Could it be that someone is shielding the heavenly secret so that I can't foresee what's about to happen?" A disdainful look appeared on the giant's fierce face as he said in a low, muffled voice, "Wizard Ancestor, even if you can't foresee it, no evil spirit can withstand the power of my axe. As long as we're strong enough, even if the enemy is a god, we can still kill them." The black-robed old man slowly turned his head and carefully observed the giant several times. Then he couldn't help but laugh and said, "You're right. Any conspiracy or trick will be ineffective against us as long as we're strong enough. Our celestial wizard warriors will chop off the heads of our enemies as a sacrifice to the heavens as long as we're ruthless enough." The giant, who was apparently rarely praised, immediately raised his thick arm and scratched the back of his head upon hearing the old man's words. Then he said with a silly smile, "Wizard Ancestor, you said those words before. I'm just saying them now. This time, our Celestial Wizard clan has dispatched all our elites and we can easily annihilate them with just their puny little black wizard bloodline. I can't understand it. Why do you have to do with them?" The black-robed old man's expression changed, and he said solemnly, "Remember this, no matter when, what environment, or what enemy you're facing, you must go all out. Even a rabbit has to go all out to catch an eagle. So, if you let your guard down, it's very likely that you'll welcome death." The burly man thought for a moment and nodded. "Wizard Ancestor, your words must be reasonable. I'll listen to you. In another 2 hours, we'll be able to kill and behead all the traitors of the Dark Shaman clan." The black-robed old man didn't say anything else, but there was a haze in his eyes. The Black Shaman clan. In fact, it was a pitiful lineage. If they stayed in Country T and never made an enemy of the Celestial Wizard clan, it would have been fine since they could have dragged out an ignoble existence. But after a long period of investigation, the Celestial Wizard clan's crisis was found to have traces left behind by the Dark Wizard clan. It was very likely that they were the culprit. Therefore, they had to be exterminated to prevent future troubles. Nonagon Fortress, First Island. When the fleet approached, only 2 passenger ships sped up and docked at the port. Yu Here, the Grand Elder of the Celestial Wizard clan, had the strength comparable to a nascent Soul Stage powerhouse. When he led dozens of Celestial Wizard clan's experts and sprinted to the shore, his eyes shifted to the dozen burly men who were armed with guns and looked nervous. "Are you the island of the Nonagon Fortress?" Yu Here asked aloud with a lofty and aloof look on his face. The burly leader, who was carrying a light machine gun, looked at Yu Here's group and hesitated for a moment before he replied aloud, "That's right. The Nonagon Fortress is our territory. Why did you suddenly come here? Didn't your leader tell you that we're from the Celestial Wizard clan?" asked Yu Here indifferently. "Or are you not from the Nonagon Fortress at all? Are you a traitor of the Dark Shaman clan? We don't know anything about the Celestial Wizard clan or the Dark Shaman clan. This is our private island. Whoever dares to break into our island without our consent is our enemy. I advise you to leave quickly," shouted the burly man as he raised his gun. Yu Here furrowed his brows and gave an order to the man around him, who immediately returned to the ship. After he reported the situation to the wizard ancestor of the Celestial Wizard clan, he was ordered to determine the identity of the other party and kill them without mercy if they resisted. After receiving the reply, Yu Here immediately looked at the dozen armed men and shouted, "Your leader is one of our people. We can only kill you if you dare to oppose us. You can contact your leader if you don't believe me. He'll tell you." The burly man hesitated for a moment before he took out his mobile and dialed a cell number. Shortly after, he put it down and said with a smile, "Sirs, we didn't know that you're the family of our leader. We offended you before, so I hope you won't stoop to our level and stoop to our level. Later on, we're all on the same side. So I hope you can put in some good words for us in front of our leader." Yuhi glanced at him coldly, then his expression suddenly changed. He instantly released a wave of shaman power, and in a short moment, the dozens of men behind the burly man were all mercilessly beheaded by him. In the next moment, his right hand, which was shrouded in black fog, grabbed the burly man's neck and asked in a cold voice, "You are not ordinary pirates of the Nonagon Fortress. Who are you people?" Fear and dread appeared on the burly man's face. He himself was a very powerful expert, but he didn't expect that he couldn't even put up a resistance in front of this old man. He recalled the order given to him by Vulcan and steeled his heart. A sharp dagger instantly appeared in his hand and he fiercely thrust it toward Yu Here's chest. Yu Here exerted his strength and directly snapped the burly man's neck before the dagger could stab him. He then kicked his body away. "Get on the island. I suspect that this island has been completely occupied by the Dark Wizard clan. Kill all the enemies on this island," ordered Yu Here without hesitation. The first island. The second island. The third island. Dozens of Sacred Flames experts on the 3 islands were all annihilated in just a few hours. Meanwhile, more than a dozen disciples of Tang sect quietly fled the island and boarded speedboats from the other end of the island to the 4th island. The fleet. They followed. Standing on the shore of the 4th island, Tan Xiu looked at the dozens of liners sailing in the distance with faintly discernible killing intent in his eyes. There were a total of 62 experts of Tang sect around him. The weakest among them was an early-stage nascent soul expert, and more than a dozen of them had broken through to the spirit formation stage. Singluan, is Vulcan and his Sacred Flames members on the 4th island? Standing next to Tan Xiu, Singluan nodded without a word and said, "My Dark Shaman clan and his Sacred Flame were supposed to stay on the 4th island and wait there together. I didn't expect that Vulcan would be too arrogant and forbid us from cooperating with them. However, he promised that as long as the Celestial Wizard clan is dealt a heavy blow, he'll take his men to evacuate the 4th island and head to the 6th island to wait. If we're no match for the celestial wizard clan, he'll bring his men to support us. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and sneered. What a wishful thinking. He said that he'll deal a heavy blow to the celestial wizard clan, but who can prove it without our men there? Tang Guang, you and Tang Yin head to the 4th island to monitor the sacred flame situation. Since they want to be cannon fodder, then let them all die. I'll go with them, said Xingluan. The celestial wizard clan's purpose is to slaughter my dark shaman clan. They will surely realize that this place is a trap if there are no celestial wizard clan members on the 4th island. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and nodded. You're right. Since that's the case, you should go there yourself. But remember, don't come in contact with them because they have very powerful experts among them. Once the battle reaches a later stage, your celestial wizard clan's people only need to expose themselves a bit and immediately evacuate. I'll be waiting for you here. Xingluan nodded and smilingly said, just wait to pull in the net, boss. On the 4th island, as more than a dozen liners stopped on the shore, figures flickered lightning fast and rushed to the island. In just 4 or 5 minutes, more than 1,000 experts of the celestial wizard clan landed on the island. A long rainbow-like blade light slashed out from the distant mountain forest. More than a dozen experts of the celestial wizard clan who had just arrived at the edge of the forest didn't have time to dodge and were slain by the 100-meter-long blade light. The experts of sacred flame rushed out of the dense forest one after another. They didn't form any formation, but their number was at least several thousand. Kill the enemy! Yu He rushed out of the celestial wizard clan's crowd and dodged the swift and fierce blade light, instantly appearing in front of Vulcan. You're not from the Dark Shaman clan? Yu He and Vulcan, who was shrouded in flames, clashed for a moment before Vulcan sent Yu He flying away, leaving only a few drops of blood in the air that diffused the smell of blood. Chapter 12-19. Never in their wildest dreams did the celestial wizard clan's experts expect that they would encounter all kinds of ability users and cultivators with various special abilities. These people came from different races and countries, and their cultivation systems were worlds apart. What happened to slaughtering the Dark Shaman clan? Why did they inexplicably start fighting with these people? Could it be, were all these people the foreign aid invited by the Dark Shaman clan? But they didn't look like cultivators, did they? They didn't look like the subordinates of that young man surnamed Tang from China. However, after just 10 minutes of fighting, the celestial wizard clan's experts found that despite the large number of people, nearly 10,000, their strength wasn't high. The strongest among them was probably comparable to a spirit formation stage expert at most, whereas the other two were comparable to a nascent soul stage expert. Compared to the number of experts of Celestial Wizard Clan, the gap was simply too huge. We can kill to our heart's content. Whether it was the Celestial Wizard Clan's elders or experts, all of them had the same thought. Therefore, they were extremely ruthless in their attacks, constantly casting mysterious sorcery and killing Sacred Flames members one after another. Kill them all. The $10 billion are ours. Vulcan was also aware of the difference in strength between both sides, but he didn't care about it. Vulcan had more than 10 times the number of people on his side. Even if he lost a group of people, he could still recruit a lot of experts with $10 billion. Money reigned supreme. That was the creed of Sacred Flame. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. For the sake of the $10 billion, the members of Sacred Flame went crazy. Many of them even had the idea of perishing together with the enemy, forcing the enemy to retreat and severely injuring and killing a lot of them. At this moment, in terms of momentum, Sacred Flame had the upper hand, and the battle between both sides had entered a crazy stage. Human lives seemed worthless at this moment. The sight of blood stimulated the eyes of the living and made their blood energy surge. The 5th island. Tan Xiu was sitting quietly in a garden house, watching the surveillance video on the screen. He could clearly see the battle taking place on the 4th island. To his relief, Xingluan led some experts of the Dark Shaman clan and didn't directly join the battle. They were hiding in the distance and watching the battle through high-powered binoculars. The Celestial Wizard clan will suffer huge losses on the 4th island. Tang Guang, who stood behind Tan Xiu, said slowly with a smile on his handsome face. Tan Xiu turned his head to glance at him and lightly said, "Don't jump to conclusions before things become clear. Even if it's a guess, we still need to make a careful deduction." But do you think that this group of stragglers who believe that money reigns supreme can really contend with the Celestial Wizard clan? But do you think these stragglers who believe in money above all else can really compete with the Celestial Wizard clan that has a strong cohesiveness? You know, Grandmaster, a lot of ants can even bite an elephant to death. The Sacred Flame has more than 10 times more experts than the Celestial Wizard clan. I'm afraid the Celestial Wizard clan won't have a good time even if they are defeated in the end. Spirit Grand War is of will. Tan spirits warriors would be in. Sacred on in of war. The members of the Sacred Flame were now willing to risk their lives for the sake of money. However, as their losses became more and more severe, they no longer cared about money because they were very rational. They understood that if they lost their lives, what was the point of having more money? With this thought in mind, their vigor would gradually weaken. Once that happens, it will be the time of their deaths. Tang Guang gave it a thought and felt that what Tan Xiu said was very reasonable. But then, a puzzled look appeared on his face and he asked, "Do you have a feud with those people from Sacred Flame, Grandmaster? They are clearly our collaborators. Why won't you let us take action?" Tan Xiu sneered. Chen Zhizhong was captured and brought here by the Sacred Flame's people. They believed in money. They would work for whoever gave them money. The one who hired them to capture Chen Zhizhong was none other than the Celestial Wizard clan. I, on the other hand, paid them $15 billion to help me slaughter the Celestial Wizard clan's members. Since it's a deal, why can't I use them as cannon fodder? Help us eliminate more experts of the Celestial Wizard clan? Cannon fodder? Everyone present understood what Tang Guang meant. Chen Zhizhong, who was at the back of the crowd, looked a bit touched. Before this, he didn't understand why his master, Tan Xiu, would hire the Sacred Flame's people. After all, he was seriously injured by the Sacred Flame's experts and was then captured and brought here. But now he understood. His master, Tan Xiu, was avenging him. Moreover, it was a plan to kill two birds with one stone. Time fleeted by. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The brutal fight between the two sides had caused both sides to suffer huge losses. Even at this time, Vulcan, who was leading the Sacred Flame's experts, had faintly gained the upper hand. All the Tang sect's disciples watched the dozens of surveillance screens with rapt attention without the slightest pity in their eyes. Instead, they hoped that the fight would get more intense. Suddenly, Tang Guang pointed to one of the surveillance screens and called out, "The Sacred Flame's members are out of luck." It seems that the Celestial Wizard clan has turned out in full force this time. Hundreds of Celestial Wizard clan's experts are coming. Their speed is so fast. Tan Xiu looked at the surveillance screen and saw hundreds of Celestial Wizard clan's experts, led by a burly man, dashing toward the battlefield at lightning speed. Their speed was indeed fast. According to Tan Xiu's judgment, the dozens of experts in front were at least at the nascent soul stage. Suddenly, his eyes froze and revealed a serious expression. This was because he saw two silhouettes moving like lightning. Their speed was faster than the dozen original leveled cultivators. In an instant, they were in front of the hundreds of people and were the first to enter the battlefield. Their attacks were very terrifying. Under the joint attack of the two men, dozens of Sacred Flame's experts were slaughtered in the blink of an eye. Soul Formation Stage. Those two are at least on par with cultivators at the Soul Formation Stage. The Celestial Wizard clan's heritage seems to be deeper than we thought, muttered Tang Guang, who had now broken through to the Soul Formation Stage, with a solemn look in his eyes. That's right. They're indeed Soul Formation Stage experts. Tan Xiu nodded. That black-robed old man's strength should be comparable to a late-stage soul formation cultivator. Interesting. The Celestial Wizard clan has turned out in full force this time, so we don't have to go to their lair. Having said that, Tan Xiu then looked at Mo Au at the side and said in a deep voice, "Contact Singluan and tell him to bring the Dark Wizard clan's experts back immediately." These hundreds of Celestial Wizard Clan's experts have arrived. They won't be able to play any role even if they join in. Grandmaster, the Sacred Flame will probably suffer heavy losses with these hundreds of Celestial Wizard Clan's experts joining in, no? Tang Guang hesitated and said, "You can see that their momentum has weakened a lot. Many of them have even begun to flee." "Don't worry." Tan Xiu smiled. "This battle won't end so easily. Although the Sacred Flame has lost thousands of experts since the start of the battle, the Celestial Wizard Clan has also lost more than 200 experts. Even if the Sacred Flame's members have fled, the Celestial Wizard Clan's people will still pursue them crazily. 2 hours. The battle on the fourth island won't end in 2 hours." As expected, the battle on the fourth island wasn't beyond Tan Xiu's expectation. Even if the Sacred Flame's experts continued to flee, they were still entangled by the Celestial Wizard Clan's experts. The two sides fought for more than 3 hours. About 4,000 experts of the Sacred Flame were killed, while the rest of them fled to the fifth island with wounds. Boss Xingluan led his 5 guardian elders and quickly rushed to the monitoring room. Tan Xiu turned his head and looked at the unscathed Xingluan. He smilingly said, "You did a good job. Some of your people used witchcraft, so the Celestial Wizard Clan's people will soon find out. It won't take long for them to catch up. What I'm most satisfied about is that the Sacred Flame's people didn't flee to the 6th island as planned, but to our 5th island." Xingluan stared blankly and asked with a confused expression, "Won't the Celestial Wizard Clan be on guard if they flee to our island?" The more profound the heritage of a clan is, the more conceited they are. Tan Xiu sneered. "The Celestial Wizard Clan will never give up after losing so many people. Let's just wait and see. The Celestial Wizard Clan's people will have a short rest soon and then come to us." Having said that, Tan Xiu got up and said in a deep voice, "Go to the beach to greet the Sacred Flame's people. Once they land on the island, immediately tell them to join us in arranging the defense network. Their mission as cannon fodder has ended, but they still have to participate in the next battle." "Sectmaster, did you plan all of this long ago?" asked Qinan all of a sudden. "It's a smart man to see through it but not say it," replied Tan Xiu with a smile. In a flash, Qinan wasn't the only one who understood it. All the Tang sect's experts in the room were also aware of it. They finally realized that they had to pass through the 5th island if they wanted to rush to the 6th island as fast as possible. They were also worried that they would fall into a desperate situation once they fled to the 6th island and the enemy would chase them there. It would be better for them to directly go to the 5th island and join forces with the Dark Shaman clan and Tang sect's people. No one can compare to Sectmaster when it comes to scheming and scheming. At this moment, the same thought emerged in the minds of all the Tang sect disciples in the room. However, they also thought that the Sacred Flame's stray dogs would soon escape here, so they rushed outside and informed the others to get ready for battle. Chapter 12:20. Time fleeted by and nearly 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Tan Xiu, who was sitting on a boulder on the beach, watched the dozens of liners rapidly approaching in the distance with a smile on the corner of his mouth. With a few gestures, figures flickered lightning fast and suddenly appeared on the beach. "Mr. Tang." As the liners docked, Vulcan, who was covered in scars, quickly came to Tan Xiu. Although his expression couldn't be seen, the chilling aura emanating from his body indicated that he was extremely angry at the moment. "We lost." Tan Xiu's expression was full of indifference and his tone was a bit cold. Vulcan clenched his fists and said, "We lost. The Celestial Wizard Clan is much stronger than we expected. Even though we went all out, we were still no match for them. The most hateful thing is that the Dark Shaman Clan's people didn't have the slightest intention to help us when they found that the other party's reinforcements had arrived. Otherwise, my Sacred Flame organization wouldn't have suffered such a huge loss. As far as I know, the number of experts from the Dark Shaman Clan who went to the 4th island is not many." Tan Xiu shook his head. "If they help you, not only will it not reduce your losses, I'm afraid it will greatly increase." "What do you mean?" Vulcan's tone turned cold. "The Celestial Wizard Clan's purpose in coming here is to slaughter the members of the Dark Shaman Clan. said Tan Xiao indifferently. However, they didn't find any members of the Dark Shaman clan from the first island to the fourth island. Therefore, if a group of experts from the Dark Shaman clan were to appear on the fourth island and participate in the battle, it will likely arouse the Celestial Wizard clan's hatred and cause their momentum to skyrocket. Do you think they'll let it go at that time? Will they pursue you and kill you crazily? Vulcan's eyes narrowed and the chilling aura emanating from his body reduced a lot. He didn't think about this aspect before because the loss of thousands of his men made him feel distressed and angry. But now, after hearing Tan Xiao's words, he felt that it made sense. Tan Xiao said again, "The reason why the Sacred Flame organization is fighting this time is because they accepted the 9 Sacred Flame insignia mission. As far as I know, the Sacred Flame organization has accepted the 9 Sacred Flame insignia mission twice before. I suppose the losses you suffered in those 2 missions were not smaller than this one, right?" Vulcan pondered for a while and finally nodded with a depressed expression. "It's indeed much bigger than it is now. Especially the second time, when our Sacred Flame organization was almost completely annihilated." Tan Xiao said, "Therefore, since you've accepted my employment and are willing to activate the 9 Sacred Flame insignia, you must be prepared to suffer heavy losses. Of course, your gains are also very big. After all, from the beginning of hiring you until the end of this incident, you will receive $15 billion. This is not a small amount." "Indeed," Vulcan muttered in his heart. He wasn't short of money right now. The main reason why he agreed to accept Tan Xiao's employment this time was that he wanted to train his men and eliminate all the weak members of the Sacred Flame organization, leaving only the elites and powerhouses. Another reason why his anger vanished was that although the losses were heavy this time, the smaller the number of people left, the more money he would get in the end. He had money, but he never disliked having more money. Vulcan looked up at Tan Xiao and seriously said, "Our Sacred Flame organization has suffered heavy losses on the fourth island. I'm afraid we won't be able to participate in the next battle. Of course, we'll also help you if you're eventually defeated by the Celestial Wizard clan." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "I didn't hire you to watch the show. I originally wanted to bring my men to fight with you in the battle on the fourth island, but you rejected my good intention because you didn't think it was necessary. You came here to help me exterminate all the Celestial Wizard clan's people. So, instead of waiting for us to be defeated, it's better for you to fight with us directly. I guarantee that your Sacred Flame organization won't suffer too much loss in the next battle. We wouldn't have to act if we fled directly to the 6th island," said Vulcan with a frown. "But you didn't flee to the 6th island because you're afraid that the Celestial Wizard clan's experts will chase you there," said Tan Xiao. "Since you've fled here, you need to fight side by side with us. It's better to say that you're helping yourselves rather than helping us. $20 billion. If you're willing to pay us $20 billion, I'm willing to lead all the members of Sacred Flame to fight side by side with you to exterminate all the Celestial Wizard clan's experts." Vulcan didn't directly refuse Tan Xiao's offer, but raised the price with a firm tone. Tan Xiao deeply furrowed his brows and deliberately showed an awkward expression. After pondering for several minutes, he nodded and said, $20 billion is indeed a huge sum, but it's not convenient for me to transfer the money to you now. I'll transfer the remaining $15 billion to your account after the battle is over." "Okay." A smile appeared on Vulcan's face and he immediately ordered the Sacred Flame members to disembark. He ordered them to join forces with the Tang sect disciples and the Dark Shaman clan to besiege the Celestial Wizard clan's powerful enemies. Amidst the boundless sea, more than a dozen liners quickly sailed toward the 5th island. On the deck of the leading liner, a black-robed old man and another companion sat cross-legged, quietly looking at the sea ahead. "Elder brother, I don't know why, but I suddenly have a feeling of trepidation. It's as if we're about to face a life-or-death crisis." That expert, who looked very young, frowned and said to the sorcerer ancestor. He looked like a young man. Wizard ancestor was silent for a few minutes and then slowly said, "It wouldn't be a problem for all of us to evacuate if we didn't go through the battle on the 4th island. But our Celestial Wizard clans suffered heavy losses on the 4th island, and all of our clansmen are suppressing their anger. I'm afraid we won't be able to let our clansmen vent their anger if we don't chase after those enemies. That's right. Our wizard clan has a cultivation art. If we can't vent our anger, it will affect the minds of our clansmen and cause their cultivation to stagnate. This is also one of the reasons why we can't retaliate even though our clansmen are constantly being harmed. Hence, we chose to vent our anger on the Dark Shaman clan, said the young powerhouse with an old voice and a nod. According to Helios Luna's message, he should be on the 5th island of the Nonagon Bulwark, Sunny Island, said Wizard Ancestor all of a sudden. But those enemies have fled to Sunny Island, so what about Helios Luna? Did something happen to him? I don't know. For a time, both of them fell into silence. Although they were a bit uneasy, they still insisted on chasing after the enemy. During the battle on the 4th island, their people detected the presence of the Dark Shaman clan's wizards. They decided to kill their way to the 5th island. On the one hand, they would kill the Sacred Flame members, but on the other hand, they would also find the Dark Shaman clan's people and exterminate them. Ahead, the 5th island was faintly visible. Although it looked a bit blurry, both of them could already see their destination. It was precisely because of this that the atmosphere on the liner became particularly solemn. The soaring killing intent nearly condensed into a tangible substance, causing the temperature here to drop several degrees compared to the surroundings. Everyone, abandon the ship and land on the island. Wizard Ancestor slowly stood up from the deck. Along with his hoarse voice, figures shot out from more than a dozen liners like sharp arrows. In the blink of an eye, the beach was occupied by dozens of Celestial Wizard Clan's experts, and they were on high alert. Set fire. Burn the entire island. Wizard Ancestor waved the magic staff in his hand and a towering pillar of fire blasted toward the woods above. More than 2,000 experts of the Celestial Wizard Clan disembarked from the ship and landed on the shore. This time was different from the battle on the 4th island. Apparently, they were ready to fight with all their might. During the battle on the 4th island, they dispatched less than 1,000 people. But now, although 200 to 300 people had died in battle, their total number was still more than 2,000. This meant that nearly all the powerhouses of the Celestial Wizard Clan had come here. It was killing intent. It was perseverance. The prairie fire crazily spread under the uncontrollable urge. The forest on the 5th island occupied 3/4 of the entire island. The entire sky was dyed red by the raging fire. Kill. The Celestial Wizard Clan's experts tried their best to avoid the burning fire and rushed toward the enemies that had appeared. Standing on the roof of the 2-story garden house in the center of the island, Tan Xiao watched the approaching flames with a sneer in his eyes. His location was a 2-kilometer residential area made of reinforced concrete. Therefore, no matter how fierce the fire was, it wouldn't pose any threat to them. However, he pitted the Sacred Flames people because more than 60% of the organization's members were hiding in the jungle. Although the fire couldn't harm them, it could force them to show up to face the enemy. Kill with all your might. The more you fight, the less the threat my Tang sect's disciples and the Dark Shaman clan's members will be. Tan Xiao's heart was filled with hatred and his eyes kept flickering. 20 minutes later, when Tan Xiao saw Do Huoshan rushing toward him lightning fast, he immediately shouted, "Heed my order, everyone. Get ready to slaughter the enemies of the Celestial Wizard Clan. Chen Jizhong, lead a group of people to besiege the 2 Celestial Wizard powerhouses. Remember, I don't want you to kill them, just stall them." Understood. Chen Jizhong shouted and immediately rushed out with more than 20 Tang sect's experts. "Tang Guang, Tangan," shouted Tang Xiao again. "Tang Guang, Tangan, you two sneak attack those 2 powerful enemies. Do your best to inflict heavy damage or kill them." Understood. The airflow in the air changed and the duo instantly disappeared. Tan Xiao took a deep breath. After Huoshan dashed in front of him, his figure flashed and quickly dashed toward the direction where the battle was the most intense. He then shouted, "Huoshan, tell your men to kill the enemies. Today is Jingye's birthday. I ask for blessings and monthly votes." Chapter 12:21. Vulcan. He was a very famous expert all over the world. His whereabouts were erratic and no one knew his true identity. But every time he took action, he always slaughtered all his enemies with an overwhelming momentum. However, this name appeared here again. Most of the Celestial Wizard clan's experts had heard of Vulcan's name. Even many of the clan's core experts knew that Vulcan was the leader of Sacred Flame. Sacred Flame? More than 2,000 Celestial Wizard clan's experts finally understood where the forces fighting them on the fourth island came from. They were from Sacred Flame, and the powerhouse who killed many of their clansmen was none other than the monstrous Vulcan. A chilling light flashed in Wizard Ancestor's eyes. After his judgment, he finally determined that the other party came from three forces, namely Sacred Flame, Dark Wizard Clan, and some powerful Chinese cultivators. It was a trap. Wizard Ancestor had lived for hundreds of years. How could he not understand that this place was a trap? His black robe fluttered as he instantly dashed to midair and shouted, "All descendants of the Celestial Wizard clan, heed my order. Retreat to the coast where the liner is anchored." Buzz! A sudden sword beam tore through the space barrier. It was a swift and fierce attack from another plane that instantly slashed Wizard Ancestor's head. Despite hurriedly unleashing his wizard artifact, Wizard Ancestor's body shook violently and he was sent flying backward, spurting out a mouthful of blood. What horrified him the most was the rainbow-like sword beam that was hundreds of meters long slammed toward him from the direction he was sent flying backward. He instantly judged that if he were to be hit by this attack, even if he could survive, he would suffer heavy injuries. Void form. A crazed look flashed in Wizard Ancestor's eyes. His body shattered and turned into a mass of black mist in an instant. The mist lingered and didn't disperse. Just as the rainbow-like sword shadow pierced through the black mist and bombarded the sea of fire 100 meters away, more than a dozen experts of the Celestial Wizard clan died tragically under the sword light. Roar! A beast-like roar came from the black mist. Shortly after, the black mist crazily reduced and Wizard Ancestor's figure appeared again. At this very moment, his clothes had already turned to ashes, but on the surface of his wrinkled skin, a large number of faintly discernible runes could be seen. Those runes were flashing, and a faint red light was emitted from his body. It was as if there was a volcano inside his body, and those runes were exposed magma. Die! Voodoo Ancestor turned into a stream of light and instantly appeared in front of Tang Guang. Dark light burst out from his 10 fingertips as his nails crazily expanded. Tang Guang's body was about to be torn apart. Boom! At this moment, a violent energy bombarded the Sorcerer Ancestor's right shoulder, sending him flying. Tang Guang looked at Tan Xiu, who appeared in front of him with a lingering fear in his heart. His cold body slowly warmed up. He had just seen the scythe of the Grim Reaper. If it weren't for his Grand Master Tan Xiu's timely action, he knew that he would have died in the hands of the Wizard Ancestor at this moment. They were both at the soul formation stage. However, after the Sorcerer Ancestor's void form, his strength had skyrocketed by more than 10 times. Therefore, at that moment, he felt like an ant looking up at a mountain. For you. The Sorcerer Ancestor screamed miserably and flew backward for a kilometer before he could stabilize his body, but his right arm had disappeared. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and his aura plummeted several times compared to before. Puma. Tan Xiu burst into laughter. I'm Tang Sek's Tan Xiu. I'm the one who slaughtered your Celestial Wizard clan's experts. I'm also the one who offered a hefty bounty to slaughter your clan's members. And now, I'm the one who's going to exterminate your clan. The Celestial Wizard clan? Hee hee, those who commit unjust deeds will meet their doom. Today is the day your Celestial Wizard clan will be destroyed. Everyone heed my command and go all out to kill the enemy. I've laid out an unparalleled array on this entire island. No one can take half a step out of this island before all the enemies are wiped out. Kill them all. Kill them all. Now, it has already reached the point where either you or I die. What? All the experts of the Celestial Wizard clan were shocked. The routed army of less than 2,000 people sped up a bit. When the people at the forefront reached the edge of the coast, an invisible energy barrier blocked their way. No matter how hard they attacked, they couldn't cause any threat to the energy barrier array. On the other side, The Dark Shaman clan's people were also horrified. They didn't expect that Tan Xiu would be so resolute to fight the Celestial Wizard clan on the fifth island. God damn it! Vulcan, who had just slashed several experts of the Celestial Wizard clan to death, shifted his gaze to the coastline in the distance. He could clearly feel that the energy barrier array was under attack and was emitting an aura that made him dread it. This array was probably very powerful. He finally understood why Tan Xiu didn't let his people leave after they entered the fifth island. It was because they couldn't go out once they set foot on this island. Otherwise, they would destroy the array he secretly laid out. This is forcing my sacred flame to fight the enemy with all my might. Vulcan roared helplessly inwardly. His killing speed increased. In just a few minutes, the number of Celestial Wizard clan's experts who died in his hands had reached dozens. Tan Xiu didn't give Wizard Ancestor another chance. His lightning-fast attacks inflicted heavy damage on Wizard Ancestor. In just half a minute, Wizard Ancestor was on the verge of death under Tan Xiu's attacks. Die! Just as Tan Xiu was about to give Wizard Ancestor the final painful blow, another Supreme Elder of the Celestial Wizard clan launched a sneak attack on Tan Xiu. He had been hiding his strength all this time and kept roaming around Tan Xiu and Wizard Ancestor, looking for an opportunity. And now, he felt that the opportunity had come. A contemptuous look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. The gap in strength wasn't something that could be overcome by a sneak attack. Not to mention that he had been observing the surroundings and had long discovered this Supreme Elder of Celestial Wizard clan who had been hiding his strength. Chop! Tan Xiu instantly brought out his divine sword and punched Wizard Ancestor's chest. The divine sword then swung in the opposite direction and split Wizard Ancestor's Supreme Elder in half. In an instant, Tan Xiu coldly killed two of Wizard Ancestor's most powerful powerhouses. It was at this moment that Tan Xiu's mind suddenly erupted with a violent roar. Just as his consciousness fell into darkness, it was as if fireworks suddenly erupted. Countless gorgeous lights blasted through the darkness and illuminated the dark world. Celestial Essence Spirit Technique, Devour. It felt like countless centuries had passed, but it also felt like a snap of a finger. Tan Xiu had thoroughly mastered the Devour Spirit Technique. Ever since his strength advanced by leaps and bounds, he thought that the Celestial Essence Spirit Technique should have appeared by now. But he had been waiting for this fight, yet he didn't see it. Therefore, he felt very disappointed. At this moment, ecstasy occupied his heart. What made him even more incredulous was that the Celestial Essence Spirit Technique he had just obtained turned out to be Devour. Devour. Devour all energy and devour the blood and qi of others. In an instant, Tan Xiu seemed to have transformed into a peerless devil. As the blood and qi of those masters who died in battle drifted around, Tan Xiu immediately displayed the Devour Spirit Technique. A steady stream of heaven and earth energy, as well as a large amount of blood and qi, were forcibly absorbed by him and devoured into his body. Violent energy. Converging within Tan Xiu's meridians, the originally wide meridians widened several times in just a few breaths, to the point that cracks started to appear on Tan Xiu's tough meridians. However, every time a new crack appeared, the previous crack would be filled with primal chaos force, repaired, and finally restored to its original state. Again and again and again and again. This caused the width of Tan Xiu's meridians to continue to increase, and their toughness also increased crazily. At this moment, even if someone used a broad knife to cut Tan Xiu's meridians, they would not be able to cut it. Even a Foundation establishment expert would not be able to do it. In his internal universe, planets continued to expand. In just a dozen breaths, hundreds of planets had soared to dozens of kilometers in diameter. All of a sudden, Tan Xiu's body trembled because he sensed the life force coming from those planets. That's right, it was vitality. It was as if these planets had gained sentience and life. Kill! While casting spells and divine abilities, Tan Xiu began to crazily slaughter the Celestial Wizard clan's experts. His cultivation was advancing by leaps and bounds. Every time a Celestial Wizard clan's expert died, every member of Sacred Flame and every Dark Shaman clan's expert died, The blood energy from their corpses kept gushing out, fusing into the air, and was forcibly sucked into Tan Xiu's body. Devour. Overbearing and crazy. When all the Celestial Wizard Clan's experts were slaughtered, Sacred Flame had less than 2,000 members left, and the Dark Shaman clan lost hundreds of experts. Standing high in the air, Tan Xiu's body suddenly trembled as a surge of energy burst out from his chest. The energy of the entire island was sucked dry by him in an instant. Even the countless stars in the vast universe began to tremble along with it. Galaxy after galaxy. Planet after planet. The massive power of the stars and the terrifying power of the sun were like a sea that blotted out the sky and directly bombarded Tan Xiu. When the countless energies came within a kilometer radius around Tan Xiu, all of them were crazily devoured into Tan Xiu's body. In his Dantian universe, tens of thousands of planets began to grow. Under the infusion of the violent energy, the energy directly fused into the planets. Tan Xiu didn't know how much time had passed. His mind was completely immersed in devouring and cultivation. No one could approach within a kilometer radius around him. Even Vulcan, a spirit formation stage expert, was blasted away by the surging energy when he tried to approach Tan Xiu several times. Rumble, lightning streaked across the vast sky and the sound of thunder shook people's hearts. Dark clouds covered the blue sky and lightning bolts shuttled through the thick clouds as if they could strike down at any time. Chapter 12:22. Fifth Island's Port. Vulcan's face was gloomy and his heart was filled with the flames of anger. After the crazy slaughter, there were only less than 2,000 people left in his Sacred Flame organization. Even these 2,000 people were riddled with scars, and some were even disabled. This time, the loss was much greater than the last time the 9 Sacred Flame Order was activated, and it wasn't just a little bit. Even if he could get $20 billion in the end, he would need to pay at least $15 billion to compensate the severely wounded and disabled experts of his organization. What infuriated him the most was not how much money he would get in the end, but the fact that none of Tan Xiu's men died in the battle. Although most of them were wounded, only a few of them were seriously injured, while the rest only suffered minor injuries. What did this mean? It meant that his Tang sect alone was enough to annihilate the entire Celestial Wizard clan. Why did the Tang sect people just sit back and watch when his Sacred Flame fought the Celestial Wizard clan on the 4th island? Why did the Tang sect people want his Sacred Flame to participate in the battle on the 5th island? Vulcan even saw with his own eyes that when his Sacred Flame's members were slaughtered by the Celestial Wizard clan's powerhouses, the nearby Tang sect powerhouses didn't provide any support at all and only focused on attacking the Celestial Wizard clan's experts. Otherwise, his Sacred Flame's members wouldn't have suffered such a huge loss. Tragic. Too tragic. Although Vulcan had hated many people in his life, he had never hated Tan Xiu as much as he did today. His hatred for the Tang sect was so deep that it reached the 9 nether. He wanted to seek an explanation from Tan Xiu, but the sudden change forced him to attack the surging aura several times, only to be blasted away again and again. Tan Xiu didn't even give him a chance to speak face to face. Explanation. You must give me an explanation. Otherwise I, Vulcan, will never let you off. In his wrath, Vulcan couldn't care less about anything else. He stood at the port shrouded by the array with a look of resentment in his eyes. The white-clad Tangguang exuded a strong smell of blood. His white clothes had long been soaked in blood, and he looked as though he had just walked out of a sea of blood. He didn't even wipe away the blood that had splattered on his handsome face. He was smiling at the fire god. His voice was exceptionally gentle. Fire god leader, do you really want to speak? With my sect leader? Or the entire Tang sect? Be it your sect master or your Tang sect, both of you must give me an explanation today. Vulcan angrily shouted. We're comrades who fought side by side, but your Tang sect's experts didn't even help my Sacred Flames people when they were killing the enemy. It's very puzzling to me. Why did you save your companions from Tang sect and the members of the Dark Shaman clan? Why couldn't you save the brothers of my Sacred Flame? Tangguang lowered his head and the smile on his face turned brighter. Then, he softly said, "Chief Vulcan, since you want an explanation, then I can give it to you on behalf of my Grand Master." His voice fell. An immortal sword instantly shot out from Tang Guang's left hand and pierced Vulcan's face in almost an instant. Swish! Caught off guard, Vulcan tried his best to evade the lightning-fast sword. However, just as he was about to relax, he instantly sensed a faintly discernible fluctuation in the air. Puff! The immortal sword that appeared out of thin air instantly pierced Vulcan's heart and came out from his chest. Then, Fire God felt as if a volcano had erupted in his chest. The surging true essence exploded, causing a bowl-sized hole to explode in his chest. His heart was destroyed. His internal organs were all destroyed. Even the meridians he used to circulate his power were severed by the violent true essence. Boom! A violent punch blasted out from Moo. The moment the immortal sword rushed out of Vulcan's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. His remaining consciousness caused his heart to be filled with bewilderment. He used almost all of his strength to ask this question with difficulty. Tang Guang revealed a cold expression and instantly appeared in front of Vulcan. As the immortal sword cut off Vulcan's head, he burst into laughter and said, "Why? Because there's no need for your sacred flame to exist anymore. Because your sacred flame is an evil organization that only has money in your eyes. You don't care about what's right and wrong and just kill innocent people. Also, your sacred flame people captured someone from my Tang sect and even seriously injured him before handing him over to the Celestial Wizard Clan's Grand Elder." Moo also instantly appeared near Vulcan's body and sneered. "Our sect master said that your sacred flame is a bunch of bastards who only recognize money and not people. The reason why we hired you is to make you our cannon fodder. Do you understand what cannon fodder is? Only when you suffer heavy losses and all of you die can you wash away your wrongdoings. You're the main culprit, so you must be responsible for those pitiful people your sacred flame killed." The world crazily rotated in Vulcan's vision. He saw his headless body, blood spurting out from his neck, and the hole in his chest. His consciousness was rapidly dissipating, but before it completely dissipated, the intense regret filled him with despair. That's right. He regretted it. He regretted asking a tiger for its skin. He regretted that he relaxed his vigilance toward the Tang sect. Money? He had money, but if he lost his life, even if a mountain of gold and silver was placed in front of him, all of it would belong to him. What was the use of it? He wanted to roar and curse. However, he found that he could not even make a single sound. Because his mouth was wide open, his consciousness flowed away even faster. When the last bit of scenery disappeared before his eyes, when the whole world turned dark, his consciousness completely collapsed. A contemptuous look appeared on Tang Guang's face as he turned to look at the sacred flame members around him, whose expressions drastically changed. His killing intent instantly soared. "How about we kill them all? We killed Vulcan and their supreme leader, so there's no need for them to live anymore," said Moo in a deep voice. "Else, if someone goes crazy and wants to avenge Vulcan in the future, our Tang sect will still be in trouble." Tang An's figure suddenly appeared in the air. Wearing a bronze mask, she lightly shook her head and said, "Sect Master may be satisfied with our method of killing Vulcan, but I'm afraid he'll be angry if we kill all these sacred flame members. I think we might as well recycle the waste. As long as we control their lives, we'll be able to order them around in the future." "I'll do it." Kawako burst into laughter and her petite body instantly soared into the air. She then looked at the sacred flame experts, who looked as though they were about to face a formidable enemy, and shouted, "You should be well aware of our strength. We originally planned to slaughter all of you and make you accompany your Vulcan and your supreme leader to hell to atone for your sins. But now, we've changed our mind and will give you a chance to live. Everyone, give up resisting and hand over your lives to me. You'll be the peripheral members of Tang sect from now on. Else, today will be the day you die. Bastards. You're despicable and shameless. Let's go all out." Tens of sacred flame experts soared into the air one after another and charged toward Kawako with the conviction that they would surely die. A disdainful smile appeared on the corner of Kawako's mouth. Her immortal sword instantly turned into a several hundred-meter-long sword light and killed several sacred flame experts with a single strike. At the same time, Tang An also instantly attacked. Both of them had recently broken through to the spirit formation stage and were very powerful, so their attack was simply a naked massacre. In just half a minute, the tens of sacred flame experts who rushed out were all slaughtered. "Who else wants to die? We'll fulfill your wish," shouted Kawako fiercely. "Throw away your weapons and sit cross-legged on the ground if you don't want to die." Kawako Yamamoto and Tang An had already killed nearly 2,000 experts of sacred flame to the point that they were scared out of their wits. They then looked around and saw dozens of experts glaring at them like tigers eyeing their prey. They threw away the weapons in their hands and sat cross-legged on the ground in accordance with Kawako's order. They might have more people, but they had personally witnessed the power of these experts from the Tang sect when they fought against the Celestial Wizard clan. They were simply terrifying killing machines that were hundreds of times stronger than them. Each and every one of them was ruthless and merciless, killing people as if they were chickens. If they were to defy them at this time, it was very likely that they would all be slaughtered just like what that woman said. They didn't want to die. It was better to live than to die. It was the truest portrayal in the minds of these 2,000 members of Sacred Flame. Kawako nodded with satisfaction and loudly said, "Give me all your mental defenses and cooperate with me to cast a restriction spell on your bodies. Otherwise, I'll personally cut off your heads and limbs and throw them into the sea to feed the sharks." 2 days passed. It took Kawako 2 whole days to cast a restriction spell on all 1,762 Sacred Flame experts. In other words, the lives of these 1,762 Sacred Flame members were now firmly under Kawako Yamamoto's control from now on. She could decide their life and death with just a single thought. The rest of the Tang sect members looked envious because Kawako was the only one who knew such a soul-controlling art. They couldn't do it even if they wanted to control the lives of some Sacred Flame members. In these 2 days, all the members of the Dark Shaman clan were gathered on a small slope. They had witnessed the destruction of Sacred Flame and the power of the Tang sect's disciples. Aside from Singluan, all the Dark Shaman clan members were worried that they would end up like the Sacred Flame members, either being ruthlessly killed or having their lives controlled by that woman. Chapter 12:23. It had been 18 days since the battle that massacred thousands of Celestial Wizard clansmen. During these 18 days, everyone was trapped on the 5th island. Fortunately, there was a lot of food on the 5th island, else those cultivators would have starved to death even if they were very powerful. After the raging fire burned down the forested mountain forest, Tang Guang frowned and kept looking at the area shrouded by huge energy. It was the place where Tan Xiu was. "Qinan, what do you think is going on with Grand Master? How did this happen all of a sudden?" asked Tang Guang slowly. Qinan rolled her eyes and snappily said, "You ask me? Who am I supposed to ask? Sect Master has too many secrets. I can't find out much even if I follow him every day." Tang Guang took a deep breath to suppress the anxiety inside and smilingly said, "It's impossible for me to follow Grand Master every day. It's impossible even if you become my master's wife." "You're asking for a beating." Qinan waved her hand and angrily said, "You're just a pervert who can't spit out ivory from a dog's mouth. I really wonder why Tang An has such a frivolous brother like you." "Me too." The surrounding air fluctuated and a light voice entered Tang Guang and Qinan's ears. Even more than a dozen Tang sect disciples in the surroundings burst into laughter. Tang An's face instantly turned livid and she angrily yelled, "Tang An, don't stab me in the back like that. I'm your blood brother, no matter what." "Don't you think so, Qinan?" Tang An's voice came out again, causing the laughter around to be even louder. Qinan shook her head desperately and smilingly said, "I'm not sure, but it's definitely not like him." The teasing made everyone in the surroundings relax a lot. Their nerves were still tense even after the battle, fearing that something might happen to Tan Xiu. But now, they calmed down a lot under such an atmosphere. It was Tang An who was smart and rarely spoke, yet she deliberately said a few more words at this moment. Suddenly, Tang An's expression shifted and she let out a light exclamation. In the blink of an eye, all the nearby Tang sect disciples, as well as Singluan, who was sitting cross-legged not far away, turned their heads to look at the oppressive aura nearby. They were all powerful experts, so they were very sensitive to the changes in the airflow around them. Just a moment ago, they all felt that the huge aura had actually weakened a little. Singluan floated up and quickly came to the side of Tang Guang and the others. He stared at Tan Xiu's direction and slowly said, "That aura is weakening. It'll completely dissipate in 10 minutes at most. Is the boss all right?" "It's possible." Tang Guang nodded in response. He had always been indifferent to people outside of Tang's sect, but Singluan was an exception. He knew very well that Singluan was one of his own. Suddenly, the surging aura was like a tide, instantly dissipating without a trace. Immediately after, an aura dozens of times more powerful than the previous one came crashing down. More than a dozen Tang sect experts, Singluan, and his 5 guardian elders had a drastic change in expression as the aura blasted them away and sent them crashing to the rocky ground hundreds of meters away. Cough, cough. More than 20 people coughed up mouthfuls of blood and suffered serious internal injuries. Tang An came out from the space barrier and knelt on one knee with one hand pressed on the ground. She coughed up blood and looked horrified as she murmured, "What happened? Did something happen to Grand Master?" Just as her voice faded away, Tan Xiu's figure appeared out of thin air. But when he saw the scene in front of him, he immediately raised his right arm with an awkward look on his handsome face. He forced a smile and said, "Are you all right? I just had a breakthrough and couldn't control my aura. He'll take these pills first." After saying that, 4 jade bottles appeared in his hands out of thin air. As the corks of the jade bottles were opened, more than 20 holy healing pills flew to the hands of more than 20 people who crawled up from the ground. For a moment, the 20 people exchanged dismayed glances with strange expressions on their faces. Just had a breakthrough? Couldn't control his aura? How could he unleash such a terrifying attack just because he couldn't control his aura? Tang An gulped down and quickly flew to Tan Xiu's front and curiously asked, "Grand Master, you said you just had a breakthrough. So, your current cultivation level is?" Tan Xiu gently raised his arm and was about to move his muscles and bones. But suddenly, he seemed to realize something and hurriedly put his arm down again. The speed at which he put down his arm wasn't fast, but such a slow movement caused the ground under his feet to explode and form a half-meter-wide pit. The awkward look on Tan Xiu's face turned more intense and he helplessly said, "The crossing tribulation stage, the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage. It's simply killing me. I broke through to the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage inexplicably. If I hadn't used a secret art to control my power, I'm afraid my heavenly tribulation would have struck me by now. I really didn't mean it. It's just that my power increased too fast and I haven't adapted to such a powerful power yet. No, it's my body that hasn't adapted yet." Crossing tribulation stage? A breakthrough inexplicably? The more than 20 people were petrified. They looked at Tan Xiu as though they were looking at an alien. "Old man, do you know how much of an impact your casual words have brought to us? Crossing tribulation stage? That's the crossing tribulation stage we're talking about. Once we pass the heaven and earth's test, we can ascend to the immortal world and become a real immortal." After the more than 20 people sobered up from their stupor, they could only smile wryly. Finally, Tang An forced a smile and said, "Congratulations on your breakthrough to the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage, Grand Master. I'm sure it won't take long for you to completely master this power given your current ability." Tan Xiu shook his head and sighed. "It's definitely not a good thing for me to break through to the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage now. I can't control the surge in my power at all. Even the slightest movement will cause a very powerful force to erupt. I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion for a long time." "You're always busy with all kinds of trivial matters, Grand Master," said Tang An hurriedly. "It's time for you to go into seclusion and cultivate. Only by stabilizing your realm and controlling your power can you lead the Tang sect to become stronger and stronger. But the most important issue now is whether you can break the array on this island or not. We've been waiting for you here for 18 days. It won't be a problem for us if we stay here any longer, but the original members of the Sacred Flame and some celestial wizard clansmen with low cultivation will probably starve to death on this island. 18 days? Tan Xiu didn't expect that 18 days had passed since he slaughtered the elites of the celestial wizard clan. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something and hurriedly asked, "Where's Vulcan?" Tang Yin, Tang Guang, and the others exchanged glances and immediately replied respectfully, "We've already killed him." "You killed him?" Tan Xiu frowned. "That's right," said Tang Yin. "The Sacred Flame organization has suffered heavy losses this time. We didn't help them during the battle with the Celestial Wizard clan. We didn't help anyone, so they suffered heavy losses and only less than 2,000 people were left in the end." Vulcan was very angry and kept saying that he wanted you to give him an explanation. "I observed that he had a murderous intent toward you and a deep hostility toward our Tang sect, so we decided to strike first to gain the upper hand and directly eliminate him to avoid future troubles." Tan Xiu gave it a thought and nodded. "Let's kill him then. Even if you don't kill him, I'm afraid I won't spare his life. The Sacred Flame organization doesn't need to exist. It's a good thing that it's an organization that only cares about money and disregards human lives." "That's right. How did you deal with the more than 1,000 people of the Sacred Flame organization?" Kawako floated over and smilingly said, "They all chose to pledge allegiance to us, Sect Master. They're willing to become our peripheral members." Tan Xiu knitted his brows and said, "We must have them as our peripheral members." "I've taken control of their lives, Sect Master," said Kawako. "All of them will die with just a thought from me." Then, Tan Xiu said. Suddenly, his words came to an abrupt halt as a glint flashed in his eyes. A satisfied smile immediately appeared on his handsome face as he nodded and praised, "You did a good job, Kawako. Since their lives are under your control, it means that they will obey your orders in the future. Let them lay dormant for now and wait for me to completely stabilize my realm and burst out with the power of the late-stage crossing tribulation stage." "What should we do next, Sect Master?" asked Kawako. "Shall we leave this place?" Tan Xiu gave it a thought and said, "I can't leave for the time being. I don't want to damage the passenger ship when I get there. You guys evacuate first. I need to stay here for some time and leave after I can control my power." Kawako's eyes lit up and she hurriedly asked, "Do you want me to stay with you, Sect Master?" "No need." Tan Xiu shook his head. "You still need to settle the remaining people of the Sacred Flame organization, so you don't need to worry about me." Having said that, Tan Xiu then told Tang and the method to break the array and watched her break the array that enveloped the entire fifth island. After watching them leave, Tan Xiu then sat cross-legged on the coast. Half a month later, Tan Xiu was barely able to control his power and then boarded the remaining passenger ship to rush back to Nine Dragons Island. After half a month of cultivation, he realized that it would take at least a few years for him to master the power of the late-stage crossing tribulation stage. Only when he could master it thoroughly could he choose to cross the tribulation and become a true crossing tribulation expert. He even had a vague feeling that once he successfully crossed the tribulation, the power he would possess would be much more powerful than ordinary immortals. He would even have the power to fight an Earth immortal. Time for seclusion. After returning to Nine Dragons Island, Tan Xiu arranged all the necessary arrangements and then directly went to Gu Yen Er's exquisite pagoda to begin a long seclusion. Chapter 12:24. Years flew by and time flew like an arrow. Tan Xiu relied on the Devour Divine ability to skyrocket his cultivation to the late stage of the crossing tribulation stage, but it also brought him a lot of hidden dangers. Without a down-to-earth tempering step by step, not only could he not control the skyrocketing power in his body, but he also couldn't exert the power of the sixth stage of the Star Heavenly Essence stage. Even his physique couldn't reach the level of normal cultivation. 3 years. For 3 years, Tan Xiu only left Nine Dragons Island once. That was to head to the Strait of Malacca, also known as the Crossroads of the Sea, with the fully recovered Gu Yin and the exquisite pagoda. He then transferred all 35,680 intelligent plants that had taken human forms into the small world of the Longquan Mountain. Then, he contacted Duanmu Lin and handed over a large number of high-tech facilities in the 3-star vestige to him. As for the research base secretly established in China, Tan Xiu didn't pay much attention to it. He just ordered the Tang sect's disciples to stay in China to help the country if there were any difficulties. 9 Dragons Island. Inside the exquisite pagoda, Tan Xiu held a cup of fragrant hot tea and gently took a sip. Sitting cross-legged in front of him was Ting Nu. Her aura was faintly discernible and she looked like a violent volcano. Even though Tan Xiu had completely stabilized his current realm and was now comparable to a late-stage crossing tribulation cultivator, he still felt a bit startled inside. Master! At the staircase inside the pagoda, Gu Yanyu, clad in a white battle robe, walked down with a smile on her face. Her misty eyes gently glanced at Ting Nu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, and then shifted to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu's expression shifted and he asked, "Have you recovered to the golden immortal stage?" "We've spent a lot of cultivation resources in the past 3 years and finally managed to refine the primordial chaos pill," said Gu Yanyu with a smile. "Wouldn't it be a waste of resources if I can't recover to the golden immortal stage?" Tan Xiu smiled and said, "The holy dragon fruit I obtained a few years ago is the main reason why I was able to refine the primordial chaos pill. Who would have thought that the holy fruit that countless almighties in the immortal world are trying to obtain would actually exist on this tiny earth?" Gu Yanyu smilingly said, "Master, our Tang sect has obtained nearly all the cultivation resources in every corner of Earth in the last 3 years. The rate of consumption is also extremely fast. If this goes on, it won't take more than 2 years for all the resources in our sect's reserves to be depleted." Tan Xiu nodded slowly and said, "A total of 200,000 scouts. Their daily consumption of resources is an astronomical figure. In addition, we have refined 4 types of precious pills, including the primordial Dao pill. The consumption of resources is indeed very high. Our sect's core members have now broken through 560 people. They had all broken through to the soul formation stage with the help of the small world, but the consumption of resources was indeed too fast. I don't think it'll be easy to hold out for even 2 years." Gu Yanyu chuckled and said, "They are not the ones who consume the most resources. It's those 35,680 great demons who have transformed into human forms from intelligent plants. Who could have imagined that the deepest heritage of our Tang sect is 35,680 great demons comparable to celestial immortals?" Tan Xiu looked at Ting Nu in front of him and nodded. "More than 80% of the resources contained in the small world have been consumed by them. But it's worth it. With these experts, we can occupy a territory in a short time once we ascend to the immortal world in the future. Coupled with you, a golden core stage expert, it's enough for us to gain a foothold in the immortal world for the time being." "Have you made up your mind?" asked Gu Yanyu. "When will you ascend to the immortal world? When are we going to attack the immortal world?" Tan Xiu was silent for a while before he slowly shook his head and said, "It's not the time yet. Let's wait. 2 years. It won't be more than 2 years before we all attack the immortal world. Only there can our Tang sect develop rapidly. It's also the only place we're very familiar with. There's only one thing I'm worried about now." "What are you worried about, Master?" asked Gu Yanyu, puzzled. "Enemies?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Time. What I'm worried about is time. I left Earth for a year, but 10,000 years have passed in the immortal world. It's been 5 years since I returned to Earth. If 50,000 years have passed in the immortal world, I wonder if my enemies are still alive? Do I still have a chance to take revenge?" "There's something you're mistaken about, Master," said Gu Yanyu. "I don't know why you've been in the immortal world for 10,000 years, but a year has passed on Earth. But I've studied the laws of space and time, so I'm very clear about the time flow in these 2 places. A year on Earth is about 100 years in the immortal world." "A year? 100 years?" Tan Xiu's eyes lit up and hurriedly asked, "Are you sure?" Gu Yanyu firmly nodded and said, "I'm sure it's not wrong." Tan Xiu frowned again and murmured, "Then why?" I've been in the immortal world for 10,000 years, but only a year has passed on Earth? There are several possibilities, Master, said Gu Yen, after thinking for a while. But I think the biggest possibility is that you encountered a time bubble when you entered the immortal world. Tan Xiu had never heard of this name. Looking at Gu Yen's serious expression, he immediately asked, "What's a time bubble?" A time bubble is a unique space formed when time and space collide, explained Gu Yen. It's similar to a bubble in water. In some time bubbles, time can be reversed. In some time bubbles, time can be accelerated. In the past, when you sent a strand of your spiritual will into the immortal world and attached itself to someone else's body, you might have encountered a time bubble. Moreover, it was a time bubble that caused time to flow backwards. After pondering for a long time, Tan Xiu silently nodded and said, "If your previous inference is correct, then 1 year on Earth is equivalent to 100 years in the immortal world. That's because my wisp of spiritual sense encountered a time bubble that caused time to flow backward. In 5 years, only 500 years had passed in the immortal world. Even if we go to the immortal world in 2 years, only 700 years will have passed in the immortal world. If that was the case, then my worries were unfounded." Gu Yenner said with a smile, "Master, have you thought it through? After we reach the immortal world, where do you plan to set up camp?" Hoary Head Galaxy. A complicated look flashed across Tan Xiu's eyes as he spoke slowly. Gu Yenner stared blankly and immediately exclaimed in surprise, "That's the Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence." "Master, I know it's the Immortal Lyceum's sphere of influence," said Tan Xiu slowly. "But it's located at the edge of the Immortal Lyceum's territory and far away from the Immortal Lyceum's central immortal palace. I've been to a place called the Misty Spring Ocean. The entire Misty Spring Ocean is thousands of miles wide, with innumerable islands scattered like stars in the sky. The one who controls the Misty Spring Ocean is profound immortal Apotheon Mu." "Senior brother Apotheon Mu?" exclaimed Gu Yenner. Didn't he die in the hands of the Rakshasa clan? How? I couldn't bear to watch him die, so I saved him in the end." Tan Xiu shook his head. "Unfortunately, his wife and children died tragically and his clansmen were slaughtered. After I helped him kill all his enemies, he was already disheartened and disappeared from the sight of countless powerhouses in the immortal world. The Misty Spring Ocean is the place where he lives in seclusion. Aside from me, there are only 3 people who know about it." "Who else knows about it besides you?" asked Gu Yenner hurriedly. "Xue Qingqing and Apotheosis Bella." Tan Xiu said 2 names. Gu Yenner thought for a while and then slowly said, "You're gambling, Master. Although I think I know senior brother Apotheon Mu, but I wouldn't have chosen that place if our Tang sect only has a few people, even if we only have a few hundred people." Tan Xiu raised his hand. "But we have too many people. We'll soon be exposed if we don't have a hidden place to stay in the immortal world with 200,000 to 300,000 people. I'm sure you know what kind of place the immortal world is, Yenner." Facing a formidable enemy, even if I'm gambling, it's much better than being directly discovered and then being slaughtered by powerful enemies. "I'll listen to you, Master," said Gu Yenner. Tan Xiu didn't speak again. After a long silence, he saw Ting Nu, who was sitting cross-legged, open her eyes and immediately asked, "How is it?" Ting Nu got up and smilingly said, "I've broken through to the late stage of Celestial Immortal, Sect Master. Although I don't know how strong a profound immortal is, I'm confident I can kill them if I encounter one." Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "You have more than 30,000 great demons and you have a deep heritage. When we arrive in the immortal world, many of you will probably break through to the profound immortal stage after some cultivation. Ting Nu, I have powerful enemies in the immortal world. Any one of them can easily slaughter all of you even if you have more than 30,000 great demons. Therefore, you must keep a low profile and endure patiently. You must never expose your true identity." A scarlet light flashed in Ting Nu's eyes and she said, "Your enemy is also our enemy, Sect Master. You gave us a new life and gave us strength. Whether it's on this planet or in the immortal world, you'll always be our Sect Master." Tan Xiu nodded with a smile and said, I'm going to end my seclusion cultivation from now on. You're to stay in this exquisite pagoda and come out when we're going to the immortal world. Understood, replied Ting Nu respectfully. After leaving the exquisite pagoda, Tan Xiu and Gu Yen came to Nine Dragons Island. Just as they stepped on the shore, more than a dozen experts of the Tang sect spotted them. Gu Xiaoxue, Tang Guang, and Tang An appeared in front of Tan Xiu and Gu Yen and saluted. Where are my parents? Asked Tan Xiu. They're cultivating in the palace, answered Gu Xiaoxue. Tan Xiu raised his brows and asked, Tell me about their cultivation and the cultivation level of the Tang family. Also, you've been managing the Tang sect for the past 3 years, so tell me about the sect's current situation. Chapter 12:25. Gu Xiaoxue organized her words inwardly and then roughly explained the situation of Tang Xiu's parents and the Tang family's members in the past 3 years. 2 years ago, after your parents took that precious medicinal pill, their physique underwent a rebirth and metamorphosis. Their cultivation speed has been extremely fast in the past 2 years, especially when they went to the pocket world to cultivate half a year ago. Their strength has soared. Now that they have all broken through to the nascent soul stage, it won't take long for them to break through to the spirit formation stage. The cultivation speed of the Tang family's people isn't slow, either. But compared to your parents, there's a big gap. They now have the strength of the golden core stage, but their state of mind is slightly worse. Master is preparing to arrange a heart-refining grand array and let all the Tang family's people enter the array to cultivate. Having said that, Gu Xiaoxue hesitated for a moment and then said, Our Tang sect is developing rapidly. Most of the children in the Boy Scouts have broken through to the golden core stage, and a small number of them have even reached the nascent soul stage. A total of 49 kinds of military formations have been taught to them. If they encounter enemies with similar cultivation levels and the same number of enemies, they can definitely crush them. Further, there are 2 people in the Tang sect who deserve my praise because their cultivation has surpassed me, Tang Guang and Tang An. Tan Xiu was shocked and asked in surprise, Who are they? Gu Yin and Little Blind, answered Gu Xiaoxue. Tan Xiu recalled their physiques and immediately asked, What stage have they reached? Gu Yin has broken through to the mid-stage of body integration, and Little Blind has also broken through to the early stage, answered Gu Xiaoxue. Tang Guang and Little Martial Ant Gu Yin fought before, but he lost miserably. A smile appeared on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he nodded and said, I've long expected that they would make such rapid progress. Tell me about the others. Gu Xiaoxue thought for a while and said, Blind Grandma has broken through to the Heavenly Master stage. Coupled with the cultivation technique we provided, her strength is comparable to a body integration expert. Martial Uncle Chen Zhizhong's cultivation has broken through to the late stage of body integration. What about Shuiyu? Asked Tan Xiu. Gu Xiaoxue said, I don't know. Tan Xiu nodded slowly and said, I'll give you 3 days to recall all Tang sect disciples from all over the world to Nine Dragons Island. Now that the embryonic form of Tang sect's power has taken shape, it's time for me to rebuild the sect's armed forces. Yes. Gu Xiaoxue revealed a trace of doubt, but still nodded in agreement. In the palace, just as Tang Xiu and Gu Yen stepped through the door, a burst of fragrance wafted over. Su Lingyun, who had been reborn and looked like she was a dozen years younger, floated in front of them. Xiu Yener. The smile on Su Lingyun's face was exceptionally bright. Even though they were both on Nine Dragons Island, Tan Xiu only left the Linglong Treasure Pagoda twice in the past 3 years, and they only met once. Mom. Tan Xiu used to dream of helping his mother embark on the path of cultivation. But now, looking at his mother's radiant and elegant appearance, his nose was a bit sour. Su Lingyun pulled Gu Yener's hand and smilingly said, You 2 children always stay in the Linglong Treasure Pagoda. I wanted to find you, but Yunda didn't let me. He said that I would affect your cultivation. Yener, you 2 have been living together in the Linglong Treasure Pagoda for 3 years. How come you haven't conceived a child yet? What? Tan Xiu was dumbfounded, whereas Gu Yener looked bashful and lowered her head in silence. Ah Yener, Su Lingyun said. Xiao is thin-skinned and his mind is full of cultivation. This boy has grown up. His career is very important, but having a family is also a big deal. If he doesn't take the initiative, you have to take the initiative. Don't talk about seniority. What era are we living in now? As long as you two are in love, marriage and having children won't be a problem. Gu Yener suppressed her shyness. She raised her head and secretly glanced at Tan Xiao before lowering her head and said, I will definitely take the initiative. Su Lingyun said with satisfaction, since you're willing to take the initiative, just call me Mom from now on. Cough, cough, cough. Tan Xiao almost choked to death on his own saliva. Gu Yener was his disciple. The moment the old lady opened her golden mouth, she actually messed up the seniority. Mom, don't randomly matchmake a couple, Tan Xiao said. His eyes swept over Gu Yener's face that changed drastically in an instant, and the words he wanted to say were swallowed back into his stomach. Su Lingyun glared fiercely at Tan Xiao, pretending to be angry. What? Do you think you don't listen to me now that your cultivation is high? Do you think Yener is a good child? She has never left you for so many years. She's definitely a good wife that's hard to find. As for Wei, you don't have to worry about it. I've asked her in a roundabout way before, but she directly told me that she doesn't mind how many women you have. She'll be satisfied as long as you have a place for her in your heart. Tan Xiao felt a bit of a headache. He directly walked a few steps inside and said, Mom, you don't have to worry about it. Dad should be upstairs, right? I'll go find him. This child. Su Lingyun was exasperated and angrily glared at Tan Xiao's back. She then pulled Gu Yener and walked inside while muttering something. When Tan Xiao came to the second floor, he saw Tang Yunda leaning in the corridor with a cigarette in his hand. There was a faint smile on his face, obviously looking like he was watching a joke. Dad! Tan Xiao called out with a forced smile. You really haven't inherited my good quality of being faithful in love, kid, said Tang Yunda with a smile. If it weren't for me stopping you, your mom would have already run to the exquisite pagoda to get you married and have children. Actually, I wasn't like this before. Tan Xiao forced a smile. Tang Yunda raised his hand and smilingly said, I don't know if it's like this or not, so you don't need to explain it to me. I'm not in a hurry to hold a grandchild. On the contrary, you'll have a headache with your mom in the future. Also, those women are very outstanding, so I'm afraid the emotional issues between you and them will also give you a headache. Tan Xiao forced a smile again and again. He could actually hear the gloating tone in his father's mouth. Shaking his head, Tan Xiao said, I'll take it one step at a time when it comes to emotional issues. I don't have so much time to spend on emotional issues now. I have a big business now, so I must seize the time to develop my forces and enhance my strength. Tang Yunda shrugged and smilingly said, I can help you with other things, but I can't help you with this matter even if I want to. Take care of yourself. Tan Xiao didn't want to talk about this topic anymore, so he said, Dad, there's something I need to talk to you about. Let's go to the study room. All right. Tang Yunda nodded. If it was an ordinary matter, the two could talk here. But since his son wanted to talk in the study room, he realized that the matter might be very important. After the father and son sat down in the luxuriously decorated study room that was more than 200 square meters, Tan Xiao took out a cigarette from his interspatial ring and handed one to Tang Yunda. He then lit one for him and said, Dad, we'll leave Earth in 2 years at most to develop in the immortal world. There are a lot of things we need to do in these 2 years, but the most urgent task right now is to take revenge. It's time to pay back the blood debt. Tang Yunda's expression shifted and he immediately asked, You mean you're ready to move against House Dolan? Tan Xiao nodded and said, Not only House Dolan but also the top 3 organizations in the world as well as the world's #1 intelligence organization, the Dark Wind. They're like cancerous tumors. If we don't eradicate these organizations and clans, I'm afraid they'll cause a big mess in the future. An incredulous look appeared on Tang Yunda's face as he murmured, How is this possible, Xiao? These organizations and clans have very deep foundations and can only be described as terrifying. Can our Tang sect deal with so many forces and clans at once? Let alone these organizations and clans, Dad, Tan Xiu said confidently. Even if our Tang sect becomes the enemy of the whole world, we can still easily conquer them. In fact, I have another purpose. What purpose? Asked Tang Yunda curiously. Tan Xiu said slowly, 200,000 child soldiers. Now, they are all very powerful, so I need to find enemies for them to train. I want to rebuild Tang sect's armed forces next. Tang Yunda was shocked. You mean, you want those kids to deal with the 4 major organizations and House Dolan? No, absolutely not. They are simply too young. The oldest is only in his teens, and the youngest is only 7 or 8 years old. If you let them go, you'll be sending them to their deaths. Tan Xiu said, Dad, there are some things you don't understand. A flower in a greenhouse can never stand the wind and rain. The immortal dimension was a cruel place. Mutual deception and slaughter could simply be seen everywhere there. In fact, many of the children in the world of immortals were trained to kill as soon as they gained consciousness. In that world where people eat people and immortals eat immortals, only by sharpening yourself into a sharp blade or a sharp sword can you survive and live longer. But Tang Yunda opened his mouth and wanted to say something. Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and said, An uncut jade can't be made into a tool. Only good steel can be made from repeated tempering. What we'll face in the future is a formidable enemy. If they can't grow up quickly now, they'll die in the hands of the enemy in the future. Who exactly are our enemies, Xiu? Asked Tang Yunda hurriedly. Tan Xiu thought for a moment and slowly shook his head. It's not the right time to tell you yet, Dad. What you need to do now is to go all out in your cultivation and strive to break through to a higher realm as soon as possible. In the immortal world, the strong are respected. If we don't want to be trampled on by others and die under the butcher's knife of our enemies, we must seize the time to make ourselves stronger. I'll need your help in the future. Chapter 12:26. Tang Yunda heavily nodded and said in a deep voice, We're brothers who fight a tiger. No matter who our enemy is, I won't become your burden. Instead, I'll fight side by side with you. Tan Xiu smiled and nodded. I'm looking forward to the day I can fight side by side with you. Tang Yunda was well aware of his own strength and how terrifying his son was. He secretly made up his mind that he must go all out to cultivate in the future. Even if he couldn't catch up with his son in a short time, he couldn't fall too far behind. After lighting a cigarette, he looked up and said, I'll contact your 2 uncles right away. They've been waiting for 20 to 30 years to take revenge. I'll tell them the news and tell them to hurry up and get ready. There's no hurry, Dad, said Tan Xiu hurriedly. Why? Tang Yunda stared blankly and asked with a confused face. I trust my 2 uncles very much, but I can't guarantee that they don't have any traitors around them, said Tan Xiu. If you tell them the situation now and their men spread the news, it'll bring us a lot of trouble. Tang Yunda suddenly understood and nodded. You're right. I'll wait for some time and then inform them. The cold wind lingered on the vast sea, but 9 Dragons Island was as warm as spring with hundreds of flowers blooming. On the 3rd day of the secret talk between Tan Xiu and his father, a bright moon hung in the night sky, illuminating the world. At the center of the island, all the disciples of the Tang sect had been summoned back to the spacious hall that could accommodate tens of thousands of people. Even those who were assigned important missions around the world had also rushed back at this time. In the deathly silent hall, hundreds of high-level disciples of the Tang sect were quietly watching Tan Xiu, who was sitting on the podium, waiting for Sect Master Tan Xiu to announce something important. That's right, they were all smart people. Since Sect Master Tan Xiu summoned all of them back, it meant that he must have something important to announce. It was because the Tang sect didn't have such a meeting even when it was founded. Everyone is here, Grand Master. Gu Xiaoxue stood next to the podium with her right fist on her left chest and said respectfully. Tan Xiu nodded slowly. When he stood up, his gaze slowly swept across the faces of everyone in the hall and finally landed on Gu Yenner's face. She nodded slightly at him. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I have several things to announce to everyone this time. These events indicate that the name, Tang Sect, will completely disappear from this day forward. What? Hundreds of high-ranking disciples of Tang sect looked incredulous. I've discussed this matter with Gu Yannu, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. We've decided to disband the Tang sect and form a new force from now on. Its name is the Great Tang Empire. Great Tang Empire? Everyone's hearts trembled as they stared at Tang Xiu. They wanted to know what other shocking news Tang Xiu was going to say next. I've decided to leave Earth for the immortal world 2 years from now, said Tang Xiu. That means we'll leave Earth 2 years from now. Therefore, the flag of our Great Tang Empire will be planted in a place suitable for living in the immortal world 2 years later. Can you tell us more about the establishment of the Great Tang Empire, Grand Master? Asked Gu Xiaoxue respectfully. I'll tell you about the structure of the Great Tang Empire now. Tan Xiu nodded. The Great Tang Empire will be divided into 5 departments. They are the Military Department, the Political Department, the Shadow Department, the Assassination Department, the Finance Department, and the Heavenly Monster Hall. Next is the appointment of personnel. The Military Department is divided into 4 major legions, namely the War Dragon Legion, the War Tiger Legion, the War Sparrow Legion, and the War Marshal Legion. Tang Guang will be the commander of the War Dragon Legion, Mo All will be the commander of the War Tiger Legion, Hao Lei will be the commander of the War Sparrow Legion, and Qin Xiaohua will be the commander of the War Marshal Legion. The 4 major legions will be stationed in the east, south, west, and north regions after our Great Tang Empire has occupied a territory in the immortal world. Tang Yunpeng and Mo On will be in charge of the political department. Mo On will assist Tang Yunpeng in handling the empire's affairs and ensure that the people of the Great Tang Empire live in peace and contentment. Jin Shi and Yi Shi-san will be in charge of the Shadow Department. Yi Shi-san will assist Jin Shi in establishing an intelligence network centered around the Great Tang Empire and spreading it in all directions. I hope that the intelligence personnel of the Shadow Department will be everywhere in the immortal world in the future. Tang Yin will be in charge of the Assassination Department, while Feng Yang and Shui Gui will assist her. I need a batch of invisible killing machines. I hope that in the future, our enemies can be silently eliminated by you guys. The Finance Department will be in charge of Gu Xiaoxue, and Tang Min will assist Gu Xiaoxue in controlling the entire Great Tang Empire's finances and treasures. If the Great Tang Empire wants to develop, it will be inseparable from the huge financial resources and the support of treasures. I hope that you can manage this area well so that the magnificent Tang Empire won't face a shortage of cultivation resources. The Celestial Demon Hall will be in charge of Ting Nu and Star Devourer Insect. They will command 35,680 great demons and act as the Great Tang Empire's sacred hall of protectors. When we encounter a crisis, they will mobilize in full force to eradicate all powerful enemies. As Tan Xiu spoke up to this point, a stern expression appeared on his face and he shouted in a deep voice, "Tell me, are you up to the task?" Whoosh! All the people whose names were mentioned stood up from their chairs and shouted in a stern voice. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "Now, I'll focus on the 4 major legions. In the coming days, the 200,000 child soldiers will be incorporated into the 4 major legions. Each legion will have a tentative number of 50,000 people. In the next 2 years, I'll select some enemies for you to test your mettle and train your troops. Your targets will be the top 3 organizations in the world, as well as the Darkwind and House Dolan. In the next 2 years, I'll personally establish the Supreme Commander's office and train a Supreme Commander of the military. The 4 of you can rest assured that the people I've trained will definitely have the ability to convince you in the future." The meeting lasted for 4 hours. Just as the meeting came to an end, Gu Xiaoxue walked to the podium and respectfully said, "I have 2 questions to ask, Grand Master." "Speak." Tan Xiu nodded. "Since we've established the Great Tang Empire, we can't be without a leader," said Gu Xiaoxue. "You've already issued the personnel appointments, but no one has taken over the position of the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire yet." "I think your question is unnecessary, Gu Xiaoxue," said Mo Au in a deep voice. Only the sect master is qualified to be the emperor of the great Tang Empire. That's right. Hundreds of Tang sect disciples all stood up and looked at Tan Xiu with fanatical eyes and shouted. Tan Xiu raised his arms and slightly smiled. We're all close friends, so I won't be hypocritical and evasive. I'll be the first emperor of the great Tang Empire. A smile appeared on the corner of Gu Xiaoshue's mouth and she loudly said, since our great Tang Empire has an emperor, then shouldn't we also establish a harem? Su Lingyun, who was sitting on a chair in the conference hall, had her eyes lit up in an instant. She looked at Gu Xiaoshue with joy in her eyes. Then, she got up and came to Gu Xiaoshue's side and gently hugged her. Then she said with all seriousness, Xiu, we won't interfere too much with your emotional issues. But I'm your mother, after all, and I hope to see you have a family. Emperors need wives and concubines, and they also need children. This, Tan Xiu angrily glared at Gu Xiaoshue. Then, his expression turned into a wry smile and he said, we can talk about this in private later, Mum. What is an empire? Su Lingyun said resolutely. An empire must have a king, a harem, and children to inherit it in the future. Xiu, if you don't have time to solve the problem of the harem, then give it to me. Don't worry. As your mother, I won't randomly find women for you. But you can't abandon those who are willing to follow you in life and death. You must also give them a status. Tan Xiu fell into silence. He knew that his mother was right. Those women had been following him silently all these years, supporting him and helping him without any complaints or regrets. They even valued his life more than their own. Now that the empire had been established, it would indeed be a bit too much if he didn't give them a status. Tan Xiu slowly raised his head and said, I'm willing to give them a status, Mom. Let's talk about this later. Su Lingyun insisted, my daughter-in-law needs my approval. Xiu, you're a man who does great things, so I'll help you solve this problem. As I said before, I will never give a status to those who aren't your women, but I must give a status to those who are your confidants. Tan Xiu really didn't know what to say. He didn't want to go against his mother's will, even though he didn't want her to intervene in this matter. But when he thought about how messed up his relationship was, in the end he still agreed perfunctorily. However, in his heart, he had already made up his mind that if she were to find another woman that he was not familiar with other than the ones that he approved of, he would definitely not agree. The meeting was over. The next large number of trivial matters were all handled by Gu Yan and Gu Xiaoshue, while he needed to lead Mo Au and the others to reorganize the 4 major legions. The moonlight was hazy. In the living room on the 2nd floor of the palace, Su Lingyun took Gu Xiaoshue's hand. Her graceful face was full of smiles as she said, Xiaoshue, you're really my most considerate child. If you hadn't stood up in the end, I'm afraid that Tan Xiu wouldn't have been willing to solve the problem of women until now. Alas, if you were also my daughter-in-law, that would be really great. Gu Xiaoshue's smiling face instantly froze. An inexplicable splendor flickered in her eyes, along with a trace of struggle. The images of Tan Xiu and her master Gu Yan constantly emerged in her heart. After constantly alternating, she finally gritted her teeth and said, actually, I can. Chapter 12:27. What? Su Lingyun was stunned. Her eyes widened as she looked at Gu Xiaoshue, who lowered her head and blushed. Suddenly, she seemed to realize something. She slapped her thigh and laughed. Good, good, good. Very good. Little Xiu is really lucky to be able to obtain your love. Saying. She immediately grabbed the red registration book and wrote Gu Yener's name on the 1st page and Gu Xiaoshue's name on the 2nd page. Gu Xiaoshue opened her mouth, but the words were swallowed back into her stomach. Su Lingyun put down the register, looked up at Gu Xiaoshue and said, Xiaoshue, I understand your concerns. According to seniority, Xiu is your grandmaster. However, cultivators don't care about trifles. Since your master can become Xiu's woman, why can't you? In the past, I always thought that seniority was very important, but now I understand that as long as you truly like someone, it doesn't matter even if you are separated by 8 or 10 generations. Don't worry, I'll talk to Yen. Gu Gu Xiaoxue lowered her head and blushed. Su Lingyun held Gu Xiaoxue's hand and said with a smile, Xiaoxue, I called you here because I wanted to ask you what other names need to be filled in the registration book. You're someone close to Xiao, so you should know something. Gu Xiaoxue hesitated for a moment before she gently nodded and said, I know a few. Su Lingyun's eyes lit up. She immediately nodded and said, Tell me, I'll write it down. Kong Xia, Mu Weining and Ouyang Lu. You should know about the relationship between the three of them and Grand Master. While registering, Su Lingyun said, Xiaoxue, don't call him Grandmaster Xiao anymore. Just call him by his name. I knew these three children, and I was very familiar with them. Apart from the three of them? Shuiyu, Gu Xiaoxue said. Su Lingyun's smile deepened. She wrote Shuiyu's name on the 6th page and then asked again, Anything else? Gu Xiaoxue hesitated for a moment before answering, Zhang Xinya, Zhang Xinyue. Su Lingyun wrote these two names on the 7th and 8th pages. She then nodded and said, I like that pair of twin sisters. Xinya used to be a superstar and was a household name. She was a goddess in many people's eyes. It was said that Xinya was also not bad. She ran her own business and lived a good life. Anything else? Gu Xiaoxue shook her head and said, I don't know about the others. Su Lingyun nodded with satisfaction and said, 8. Although it's a far cry from the ancient emperor's 3 palaces, 6 courtyards and 72 concubines, it's still a lot for Xiao. Suddenly, a knock was heard on the door. Immediately after, a small head poked through the open door. A bright smile appeared on her delicate and lovely face when she saw Su Lingyun and Gu Xiaoxue. She pushed the door and quickly came to Su Lingyun's front. She then giggled and said, Auntie, I went to Europe a few days ago and bought a Chanel bag for you. Do you like it? A few days ago? Europe? A Chanel bag? Su Lingyun and Gu Xiaoxue exchanged glances. Both of them were at a loss whether they had to cry or laugh. Andy had been staying in 9 Dragons Island for more than half a year. A few days ago? What Europe? It was simply nonsense. However, that Chanel bag was very good-looking. Su Lingyun and Gu Xiaoxue suppressed their laughter and looked at Andy, who had an ulterior motive. After receiving the bag, Su Lingyun nodded and smilingly said, Not bad. It's a very beautiful bag. I'm sure many people will be envious of me if I go shopping with it later. Thank you, Andy. No need, no need. Andy hurriedly waved and said, It's my duty to show filial piety to you. Filial piety? Isn't it almost the same as filial piety? Su Lingyun thought happily in her heart and said, Andy, I'm so happy. I'm discussing with Xiaoxue about confirming Xiao's harem list. I've already written Kong Xia's name. Do you think there are any other names I can write? Andy hurriedly squatted down and pulled Su Lingyun's hand, saying with a smile, Did you write my name, Auntie? I'm very happy to do it. Su Lingyun couldn't help but burst into laughter. Even Gu Xiaoxue was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. She looked at Andy with a bit of admiration in her eyes. Bold. Daring to love and daring to hate. Gu Xiaoxue felt that she really couldn't compare with Andy in this regard. Su Lingyun smiled and grabbed the register. She wrote Andy's name on the 9th page and smilingly asked, How is it? Are you satisfied now? Yeah, I'm very satisfied. Thank you. A bright smile appeared on Andy's delicate and lovely face as she nodded repeatedly. The smile on Su Lingyun's face was particularly thick, whereas Gu Xiaoxue at the side took advantage of Su Lingyun not paying attention to her and gave Andy a thumbs up. This speed of changing her words was really fast. After a while, Andy left the room with a satisfied expression. Just as Gu Xiaoxue was about to leave, the door was knocked again. Donning a black robe, Tangan, who rarely wore a mask, came to Su Lingyun with a bowl of 8 treasures lotus seed soup in her hand. She gently glanced at Gu Xiaoxue and smiled, saying in a low voice, You haven't had dinner yet, so I brought this 8 treasures lotus seed soup from the kitchen. Would you like to have some? After saying that, Tangan's face turned a bit red. With a suspicious look on her face, Su Lingyun hesitated and asked, Who are you, miss? I'm Tangan, replied Tangan softly. Tang-en? Although Su Lingyun had seen Tang-en many times, this was the first time she saw her face. Never once did she expect that Tang-en would turn out to be an outstanding and soul-stirring beauty. The first thought that came to Su Lingyun's mind was that it was a pity. Such a beautiful girl never dressed up gorgeously. Instead, she always wore a black robe and even wore a bronze mask on her face. I'll drink it. I like this 8 treasures lotus seed soup the most. Although Su Lingyun had just eaten, she didn't want to expose Tang-en. She took the bowl of 8 treasures lotus seed soup and drank half of it before putting it on the tea table nearby. Then she grabbed Tang-en's hand and pulled her to sit next to her. She then grabbed the register book with her other hand and asked in a low voice, "There are already 9 names on it. Would you like me to add your name on it?" Tang-en quietly raised her head and secretly glanced at Gu Xiaoxue. She found that Gu Xiaoxue was looking at her with a playful expression. Suddenly, Tang-en felt a bit guilty and quickly lowered her head. Her ears blushed again and she gently nodded. Su Lingyun let out a bright smile and turned to the 10th page. After writing Tang-en's name, she smilingly said, "Call me Mom later." "Alright." Tang-en's face blushed and she gently nodded. Suddenly, Tang-en looked up at Su Lingyun and said, "Mom, can you write another name?" "Whose name?" asked Su Lingyun confused. "Gong Wan," answered Tang-en. "Don't tell me that Xiao and Gong Wan is." Su Lingyun was surprised. Feelings can be nurtured slowly later. Tang-en shook her head and said, "But Gong Wan-er's physique is very special and will greatly benefit Grand Master's cultivation." "Will Gong Wan-er agree?" asked Su Lingyun with a hesitant expression. "I've talked to Gong Wan-er before. She likes Grand Master very much," said Tang-en. "She said that she's never seen a man more outstanding than Grand Master in her life." "If that's the case, then write her name," said Su Lingyun. "But, you don't need to call Xiao's Grand Master anymore. Just call him by his name." "About that, alright." Tang-en gently nodded. A few minutes later, as Tang-en left, Gu Xiaoxue endured the burning sensation on her face and said, "Mom, if you're not sleepy, how about I stay and chat with you?" "That's what I'm thinking too," said Su Lingyun with a smile. "Andy and Tang-en have already been here. I'd like to see who else will come." Outside the palace, Kawako Yamamoto had obviously dressed herself up. She was wearing a fluttering dress and all kinds of jewelry as she stood outside the palace's entrance. The 2 guards outside stared at her, causing her face to burn and making her wish to find a hole to hide inside. Suddenly, Kawako's expression shifted. Disbelief filled her eyes as she looked at the devastatingly beautiful woman who came out from the inside. She could tell from her aura that this super beauty with an erratic aura was none other than Tang-en. Kawako stood in front of Tang-en and asked, "Are you Tang-en?" Tang-en gently nodded. Kawako glanced at the palace's entrance and hesitantly said, "You're going inside to register." Tang-en lightly uttered those 2 words before her figure flickered and instantly disappeared from the spot. "Register." Kawako seemed to realize something and immediately no longer hesitated. Her figure flashed and entered the palace's interior, heading to the 2nd floor. Just as she was about to stop an envoy and ask Su Lingyun's whereabouts, she suddenly saw Viviani's figure in the corridor. "You too?" Kawako came before Viviani and asked in surprise. "I'm a bit scared." Viviani forced a smile. How could Kawako not be afraid? She had been hesitating outside the palace's entrance for several minutes. She wouldn't have had the courage to come inside if she hadn't run into Tang-en. Upon seeing the forced smile on Viviani's face, Kawako suddenly calmed down and smiled. She pulled Viviani's hand and said, "I'm actually a bit scared, just like you. But since Tang-en is here, do we still need to have any scruples?" Viviani hesitated and said, "What if Zong, he's not interested in us? I've long since inquired about him. He has never taken the initiative to pursue any woman. Whether it's Kang Xia, Ouyang Lulu, Mu Weining, or Shuiyu, all of them took the initiative to pursue him," said Kawako. "If they can do it, why can't we? Be it looks, figure, temperament, or cultivation, we're not worse than them." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.